Andre Saint-Laurent will be trying to get the puck through that sticky Toronto defense and get a win for the Olympia crowd. The Red Wings and the Maple Leafs tonight, live at 8 o'clock on TV 50, your sports station in Detroit.
Come and get it! Burger King has a real steak sandwich.
Who's got the best steak sandwich?
Tonight from Olympia Stadium, the Detroit Red Wing Hockey Club brings you the game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings.
Detroit Red Wing Hockey is brought to you by your AMC and Jeep dealers, home of the AMC Concord, Pacer, Spirit, and Jeep vehicles. And by Labatt's. For beer at its finest, call for Labatt's. And by Bank of the Commonwealth, trying hardest to help. And by Little Caesars, a winner any way you slice it.
And so again, we welcome you to Olympia Stadium, the home of the Detroit Red Wings, where in just a moment or two, the Wings will be moving out against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hi again, everybody. Bruce Martin along with Sid Abel. Sid, the Wings are coming in, having won 2 of their last 3 games, both of those victories over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And yesterday's contest played here at Olympia, a 6-2 victory, was a rather good performance, I'd have to say.
Bruce, I think the Wings are as good right now as they've been all season, so I'm looking for a real good hockey game. But they have to be physically tough tonight because Toronto are probably the roughest hockey club in hockey right now. They're leading the league in penalties. They're a good, solid, tough, physical hockey club that's playing the type of hockey more or less getting ready for the playoffs.
Well, the one thing that I've been kind of wondering about, and I honestly don't know for sure, though I have a hunch, is just who's going to be in goal for the Wings tonight. Jimmy Rutherford played very well yesterday, the day after his 30th birthday, picked up his 4th win in the season. And our understanding later on today from word here at Olympia was that he was going to be in the nets again tonight. And yet they have just given us the starting lineups which show Rogie Vachon in goal, which maybe doesn't come as a great surprise.
Well, I think it is a surprise. You know, the fact that they won with Rutherford yesterday, beat Pittsburgh, a team that they wanted to beat, and Rutherford played well. I believe that they would come back with Rutherford. If they come back with Vachon, as the list says, it's going to be a surprise.
Well, we're going to be looking at a little fire pond of a goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I speak of Mike Palmateer. Remember a season and a half ago when he made his debut right here?
Yes, and he's a good one. He comes to play each and every game. They're going to have to beat him, and I would think beat him high. He does a lot of flopping. He's down on the ice a lot. They're going to have to go upstairs, score goals on him.
Well, they say if there's one thing that Mike Palmateer does not lack, it is self-confidence. He has a lot of that. And we'll have more hockey talk for you after we pause now for this. Sid, in one of those quirks of the schedule of the National Hockey League, believe it or not, here we are in the latter part of the month of February, and this is the first time the Toronto Maple Leafs have been to Olympia Stadium this season.
And the first time, I believe the date is January the 5th last year, and the return of Dan Maloney, and I think that's a big thing. Maloney was a crowd pleaser here. I've always faulted him for his skating, but he is rough and tough, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he will go after some of the Wings, especially some of the more timid fellas, if he'll run them or not.
Well, as you can hear from the background, the 2 teams coming out onto the ice. As is the case so often here at Olympia Stadium, you have that contingent of Toronto Maple Leaf fans, and they're dyed-in-the-wool fans too, so we're going to have a noisy group here tonight, and there'll not be an empty seat. Actually, these 2 teams have played only 1 game all season long, and that was played the middle part of the month of December at Toronto, and the Leafs won it by a score of 4-2. So after tonight, they'll still have 2 to play.
You know, Bruce, talking about the Leafs for a moment, they've only lost 3 games in their last 14, so it looks like they've put their act together, and the Wings look as though that they're coming back, winning 2 of their last 3, so this could be a very interesting night.
Well, the Detroit Red Wings, we have talked about the goaltending. If they have a hot player on the ice right now, it might be Václav Nedemansky, the fellow who scored a goal, assisted on a couple others yesterday, scored 2 in the game prior to that. And Vaslov, in his last 10 games, has 9 goals, 5 assists. That's a pretty good clip.
Well, he's a good hockey player. Bobby Crom faulted him for not being a little rougher, but he can do everything. I would think Dale McCourt right now looks as though he is playing better than he has any time this year. Scored 3 goals yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see if he'll come back and play a big game right back tonight.
Well, it could be when one fella gets going, the other has to. They, of course, play in the same line with McCourt at center, Nedemansky on the right wing, and Errol Thompson, who is facing his former teammates here tonight, is on the left side of the line. So we're looking for some fun here at Olympia Stadium. The game between the Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be back with the opening face-off in just a moment. And the two teams out onto the ice in the blue and white uniforms. The Toronto Maple Leafs, and in the white jerseys with the red numerals, the Detroit Red Wings, who will be coming from our left to the right. And the Maple Leafs, led by goaltender Mike Palmateer, defending the goal off to our right. And it will indeed be Rogie Vachon who will be making the start in the goal for the Red Wings tonight, and Mike Palmateer for Toronto Maple Leafs. The referee for the hockey game is Dave Newell. Ryan Bozak and Bob Hodges are the two linesmen. And we await now the singing and playing of the national anthems prior to the start of this game. And the Gene Alverson, who handles that chore on a regular basis here, is all set to take care of it again when everything is ready. The Wings continue to play without 3 figures, 2 on the defense side. John Hamel, who suffered that cut tendon in the hand here a couple of weeks ago Sunday and will still be out for 2-3 weeks, they say. Greg Jolly, who of course has not played this season. He underwent surgery prior to the start of the year, but he's been skating with the Red Wings and may well be back to finish out the year a couple of weeks from now. And of course, Brent Peterson, the highly touted rookie who was injured in the 5th game he played, and he's out for the season. Here are our national anthems. Eugene Alverson handling the national anthems of Canada and the U.S. prior to the start of this game. The 3 officials at center ice, that is Dave Newell, and along with him, the 2 linesmen, Ryan Bozak and Bob Hodges. Wings are going to start the game with Billy Hogebaum at center ice. Dennis Polonich on the right wing. Over on the left side, J.P. LeBlanc. Back along the Detroit defense, Perry Miller and Reed Larson. In front of goaltender Rogie Vachon. Toronto Maple Leafs will come out with Gary Monahan at center ice. Lanny McDonald on the right side and Dan Maloney on the left wing with Boyer, Salming, and Hutchinson back along the defense. And the hockey game underway. And from the face-off, the Wings win the draw. Reed Larson takes a bouncing shot, and Paul Matier clears it to the corner. Boyer, Salming failed to work it out. Kept in by J.P. LeBlanc. Centering pass by Hogebaum. And Polonich's shot was blocked. Now Salming moves in behind his own goal. Clears it out on the left side for Dave Hutchinson. He sent it over on the right side, and Gary Monahan cleared it in behind the Detroit goal. Reed Larson heading in after it. He passed it over on the left wing. J.P. LeBlanc was checked before he could work it out, but picking it up with Polonich. Or rather, Larson. Larson gets it out to center ice. Here now is Polonich over the line with a shot that's deflected right to the net, and then cleared to the side by Salming. Coming right back out now, Toronto. Danny Maloney got it over the line. Wings failed to work it out, but Reed Larson covered up. Now Larson starts Perry Miller out. Miller, he just dumped a weak shot. Paul Matier juggled it a bit, puts it into the corner. Polonich went in after it. But the Wings are changing on the move now, and Toronto will play it out. Moving out, Lanny McDonald coming out center ice. And Dale McCourt moved in, took it right off the stick. Back into the Toronto zone, and Salming stopped in. Now it's Toronto shooting it all the way down the ice. They waved off the icing, and so Tommy Bergman had to come back quickly to play it. He played it all the way back out center ice. Hutchinson of Toronto at his own blue line with Turnbull. Now the puck went back into the Detroit zone, and Terry Harper goes back after it. He was checked before he could reach it by Ron Ellis. They bumped him along the boards. Play stays in the Detroit zone. Sittler dug it loose, put it out in front, but Tommy Bergman broke it up. Now Bergman ahead to Dale McCourt. McCourt tipped it out center ice. Harper has it there. Terry Harper in the wings over the line into the Toronto zone. He took a weak shot, and Paul Matier knocked that away. It's handed off now by Williams. Cleared into the Detroit zone by Burroughs, but the play is offside, and the faceoff comes out over the Detroit blue line.
And a real good tempo to the game here for the first 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes. One thing that Toronto is going to have to do, there's the Coach Bobby Crum behind his bench, but one thing the Wings are going to have to do with this Toronto club is play their positions, go up and down, and hopefully stand the rough stuff. Toronto is going to try and pump them, no doubt, led by Hutchinson and Tiger Williams and Dan Maloney.
Now Toronto sends out Butler on the right wing, Boutet on the left side with Jones at center ice. And the Wings have Greg Carroll, Polonich, and Saint Laurent. Play is back at his own blue line with Willie Huber. Handing it ahead to Carroll. Greg Carroll just shot it to the Toronto line. Burroughs sent it back out center ice, so Huber hands it off to Perry Miller. Puck fired into the Pittsburgh zone. It went in off the glass into the crowd. And so the play will come back out over the Toronto blue line.
And a wild scramble for the puck behind the Detroit net.
Greg Carroll goes in against Jones just over the Toronto line. No score. We've played 2:21 of the first period. Puck went all the way back into the Detroit zone. Vachon came out of the net. Stopping it there for Willie Huber. His pass gone away from Perry Miller. They bump in along the boards. Boutet and Miller. Miller lost his stick. He's down on the ice. That puck loose, though, and Boutet of Toronto played it back to the line. A shot by Turnbull, but out in front of the net. A puck has been whistled down, and a play has been whistled down. Referee Dave Newell has stopped the play, and I believe he is in the process of calling a Toronto penalty. So while he does, we shall pause for this. Jerry Butler goes into the penalty box for holding at 2 minutes and 42 seconds. So the Red Wings are going to have a power play chance, and Sid, they lead the league in overall scoring with 58 power play goals.
You know, their power play can look awesome at times, the Wings, but then there are other times when they don't get the play up over center ice. It's a case where they have to get in, get established in the Toronto zone, take advantage of their point men, get it back to Nedemansky or back to Larson, hopefully run a screen out in front of Palmatier and get the fellows back at the blue line shooting the puck.
Maple Leafs have given quite a bit of argument to referee Dave Newell, but to no avail.
You know what happened there, Bruce? Perry Miller dropped his stick or lost his stick. And he was actually manhandling Butler, and Butler was trying to make a play, and then Butler wrestled with him, and Butler got the penalty.
Now the puck went off the linesman at center ice, and they whistled it down as the play had covered two lines, and so they'll bring it back inside the Toronto Maple Leaf blue line for the faceoff. Well, it's Dave Burrows, who came to this Toronto Maple Leaf team from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who's out there now at Boyer-Salming. The Wings have Dale McCord, Thompson, and Huber up front with Larson and Nedemansky back at the points. Puck knocked down with a high stick at center ice by Nedemansky, so they'll stop the play, bring the face-off all the way back into the Detroit zone. Referee Dave Newell. The Rings have the extra man for still a minute and 50 seconds. The time remaining in the penalty to Jerry Butler. Dale McCourt goes in against Monahan. He and Jones, penalty killers for Toronto. They swing in behind the Detroit goal with Nedemansky, handing it off there to Dale McCourt. Now McCourt down the left side, handed it back to Nedemansky. Moving out to center ice. Big net over the line. He dropped it there for Thompson. Thompson trying to move into position. Played it off to the side of the Toronto goal. Palmatier fired it right up into the crowd. So they'll keep the face-off in the Toronto end of the right side of the Maple Leaf goal.
And while the referee wouldn't probably call that, but Palmatier could get a penalty for just what he did. You're not allowed to deliberately shoot the puck out of the playing surface, and no doubt he did.
Harold Thompson continues to wear that facial protection for the broken jaw that he suffered while he was sitting on the bench, no less, and got hit by a shot from his own player, Tommy Bergman, a few weeks ago. So the face-off deep in the Toronto zone. Dale McCord in against Jones. Puck stayed right there in the circle. Jones picked it up, played it in behind his own goal. Salming was checked by Huber, but the puck came loose, and the Leafs clear it down the ice. A minute 20 left in the penalty as Nedemansky turns in behind his own goal. No score in the game. The Wings have the extra man. Willie Huber dropped it back for Reed Larson. Larson comes out now to center ice. Winds up for a long shot. Palmatier cleared that away. Dale McCourt sent it back to the line. Nedemansky hands it to Larson with a shot. Knocked down. Out in front. Then Thompson fired one, and that went off Huber. Huber worked it back to the line. He was grabbed and pulled to the ice by Burrows, and the crowd didn't care too much for that. Now Larson handing it off to Harold Thompson. Wings had some good chances, and they weren't getting it through. Now here's Nedemansky. Back over the line. He dropped it right there, and Thompson moving the other way couldn't get to it. And it's Ron Ellis who clears it to McKechnie over two lines offside. And so now we have 33 seconds remaining, and the crowd getting on the official a bit.
Big Walter McKechnie, former Red Wing, had a couple good years here and was traded. I guess he went over to Cleveland first, and then Toronto picked him up from Cleveland. He scored 21 goals so far this season for Toronto. He's having a real fine season.
Now from the face-off, Paul Wood sent it back to Willie Huber at center ice. Huber carries over the line, wound up for a shot. Palmatier juggled it, and it fell just wide of the net. Came back to the line. Danny Bolduc stopped it there. Bolduc trying to work away from McKechnie. Worked it back to Nick Libet. Libet out in front. Never took the shot. Now he did, but didn't get through again. Came right back to Libet. He goes chasing along the boards after it and shot it out center ice. Well, Libet just waited and waited and finally took the shot. And again, the Wings have had chances, and they haven't really got it through the defense. And the penalty is over. Coming back out now, penalized player Jerry Butler, and the teams are at full strength. Here's Butler picking up the pass at center ice. Willie Huber belting him, and now he's going to go out. Huber trying to get a penalty for elbowing. And now Toronto is going to the odd man.
Willie Huber got his arms up a little too high when he made contact. Butler was trying to break out and take a long pass from his own zone.
And we shall be back in just a moment.
A long pass up along the boards, and Willie Huber just took dead aim on the Toronto player, and as he made contact, he brought his elbow up and got a penalty for elbowing.
Off for elbowing at 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Game remains scoreless. The play is back along the Toronto blue line. Toronto Maple Leafs, Ron Wilson played it in behind his own goal to Ian Turnbull. Now Turnbull right out in front of his net, cleared it over on the right side to Sittler. Here's Darryl Sittler out at center ice. Right side pass to Wilson into the Detroit zone with a shot. Vachon knocked it away. And Tony Bergman cleared it to the line, but evidently not out. There's Turnbull. And it was Harper that deflected his pass away. Puck is held in the Detroit zone, though. Back on the point to Turnbull. Turnbull faked the shot. Played it along the circle now, and Lanny McDonald. McDonald getting right out in front, and he shot it over the top of the goal. Puck came back toward the line. McCourt knocked it out to the line a second time, but again, the Leafs managed to hold it in. Now Williams had the stick up high with Harper. The play came back to Turnbull. Turnbull fired it wide. Along the boards on the left side, it was kept in again at the point. Came back to Wilson. Here's Wilson out in front of backhand shot. It's loose for Lanny McDonald. And Libet covered up on him. Still it's loose out in front, and Tony Bergman digs it away and skates it out to center ice ahead to Dale McCourt. McCourt got it over the line into the Toronto zone, then brought it back out center ice, and McDonald took it away from him. Lanny McDonald being chased by Paul Woods. And they go into the corner, deep in the Detroit zone. It came back on the point to Wilson again. He kept it right there on the line. Here now Sittler playing it deeper in the corner to Lanny McDonald. There's a battle out in front between Dan Maloney and Terry Harper, and now Maloney dropped his gloves and swings the right hand at Harper, and the two of them put a bear hug on each other. Well, Harper was trying to keep Maloney out of position out in front of the Detroit goal, and Maloney finally just dropped the gloves, swung the right hand. I don't believe he really landed with it. And the two of them with a bear hugging one another now, and the two linesmen trying to separate them.
And that proves, Bruce, that even though you were teammates just a year ago, when action starts in a hockey game, you can fight with them.
Still the two of them tugging away at each other. And the two linesmen still trying to pry them apart. We have no score in the hockey game. Harper has that right arm, or left arm around Maloney's neck. He's not going to let go for anything right now.
He has a real headlock.
Bobby Crum looks on, and now they two of them are separated.
Oh,
Maloney is bleeding.
He really is.
I don't know exactly how he got that.
His nose is really
bleeding. Bleeding rather badly, and I think that happened not in the fight then. So while we figure it all out, we'll tell you we'll be back in just a moment.
I own this place.
Well, Toronto had possession of the play deep in Detroit zone, and they moved the puck around a few times, and it was just a case, I think, when Harper was trying to cover Maloney out in front of the net, their sticks probably come up because Maloney has been bleeding. His nose is bleeding, and I'm sure it didn't happen in the little wrestling match they had. Wilson of the Toronto club took an ice bag over to the bench. Terry Harper, I'm sure, didn't even make a swing. He had a headlock on Maloney, but...
Well, Harper gets 5 minutes, and Maloney 2.
And Maloney is, I would think Maloney's going to have to go to the dressing room because they can't stop him. He is really having nose problems.
Well, as I caught it, I believe it's Maloney 2 for roughing, and Harper gets 5.
Well, it's
high
probably because of the blood.
Right.
No doubt there was a high stick throw because I'm certain that injury didn't result in the fight they had. It was a wrestling match, not a fight.
Let's keep in mind, too, that Huber is still in the penalty box for 18 seconds, so Toronto is going to have a golden opportunity. Bobby Crum in behind the Detroit bench, none too happy with the call. The delay in the game necessitated by the cleaning up of the ice, where Maloney suffered the nosebleed. He's gone to the first aid room. So Harper and Huber are in the penalty box on the Detroit side, and Ron Ellis will go in on the Toronto side, taking the spot for Dan Maloney. So Maloney is due out in 2 minutes, and Harper then will have to serve the entire 5, whether or not the Maple Leafs should score.
Well, the big thing, Bruce, is the fact that Willie Huber will get out of the penalty box in 18 seconds. That is the big man right now. They are 2 men short here starting, and Toronto have a very, very good power play. After all, you saw Salming, Turnbull, Sittler, and big Walt McKechnie out there. They can move the puck around.
Wings are 2 men short, and Toronto won now as Sittler will go in against Dale McCourt. Sittler won the draw. Turnbull turned with it right in the circle, checked in along the boards by Reed Larson. And as they held the puck there, the quick whistle, they used up 7 seconds. That means 11 more remain in the penalty to Huber. Then he'll come out. The two teams will then be each short a man. Now here's McCourt winning the draw, and Reed Larson firing it the length of the ice. Going back after it, Salming. Huber up and ready to come back out now. He does, and each team is short a man. And the Leafs lost the play. Here's Reed Larson, a quick pass ahead to Paul Woods. Over the line with a shot. Paul Mateer stopped that. Paul Mateer skated it in toward the corner, hands it off there to McKechnie. Now Ian Turnbull. And it's Salming at center ice. Salming turning with it, dipsy-doodling over the line. A right side pass for McKechnie. He wound up for a long shot. It came right out in front. And a return shot by Williams deflected away. Tommy Bergman picks it up, cleared it out on the right wing for Paul Woods. He's got San Laurent coming down the left side. San Laurent around Salming, and he went for a slide under the stick of the goaltender. And Paul Mateer finally picks up his stick. Here's a shot by Perry Miller, and Paul Mateer stopped that. Puck kept in by Reed Larson. They jam in along the boards in the Toronto zone, and there's going to be a penalty coming up. The referee has the arm up in the air. And there'll be a high-sticking call, I believe, against the Maple Leafs. And Williams, Tiger Williams, is very unhappy. Well, it was Woods and Larson, really, that kept the play in, Sid.
Well, Paul Woods is at the top of his game right now. He's not scoring goals, but he is worth his weight in gold out there because of his skating ability. He just made a terrific play, first of all, to St. Laurent. Then, when the play come back out, Larson kept it on the blue line, and they drew the penalty, which is a big thing for the Wings because this offsets the extra minutes that Terry Harper was going to have to spend in there.
Well, it means now that for 46 seconds, the Red Wings are going to play 1 man short and Toronto 2. So the Wings have the advantage now as Williams goes off for high sticking. 7 minutes, 48 seconds, the time of the penalty. No score in the game. Nedemansky and Thompson, the 2 forwards, with McCourt and Larson at the points for Detroit. Jones is the only forward on the ice for Toronto. He won the draw, and Dave Hutchinson cleared it off the glass and down the ice. Back after it, Larson. Reed Larson's pass coming up to Nedemansky. He moves out with Dale McCourt. McCourt fired it into the corner in the Toronto end. Nedemansky went in after it, put it out in front, and chance for McCourt with a shot at the goalpost. McCourt drove it off the goalpost, and then he got to it and failed to hold it in. And the Leafs shoot it down the ice. 15 seconds remaining in the Maloney penalty. Now it's Reed Larson heading out. Here's Larson to McCourt, or rather to Nedemansky. Into the Toronto zone. He handed it off to Reed Larson with a shot. Paul Mateer knocked it away. Now it's Errol Thompson, and he played it beyond Dale McCourt. It's picked up by Ellis, who just came on, but coming back quickly, Thompson covered up on him. Ellis got to it a second time, but the Wings slided back into the Toronto zone. Dave Hutchinson back after it, clearing it over on the right side for Salming, center ice to McKechnie. Each team short 1 man now as McKechnie tries to work in, couldn't do it. Reed Larson cleared it over on the left side for Perry Miller. Center ice now to Nedemansky. Nedemansky lost it there. McKechnie was checked immediately by Miller. Reed Larson at his own blue line. Left wing pass for Errol Thompson into the Toronto zone with a weak shot that deflected way wide. Hutchinson takes it off the boards for the Leafs and starts back. Here now Dave Hutchinson moving over the line into the Detroit zone, trying to go through. He did. And there's Walt McKechnie with a shot, and that's deflected just wide of a wide open net. What a chance McKechnie had. The Wings pick it up and clear it the length of the ice. McKechnie had an empty net with Vachon out of the goal and shot it wide.
And it's McKechnie's own fault. He's an experienced hockey player, and he just babied the puck. He had it on his backhand. He had the entire net to throw it in. Instead of bearing down and really putting it in the net, he just babied along and got a little deflection, missed the wide open net.
14 seconds remaining in Williams' penalty.
The Wings played Hutchinson very bad. He just walked right through the middle of Huber and Miller. Rogie Davey Vachon had to make a sprawling save, but then the payoff is an experienced hockey player like McKechnie picked up the puck with nobody in the net and didn't really bear down on it.
So in 14 seconds, it'll be Tiger Williams coming back on, and Harper will still have a minute and 44 seconds of his penalty time, minute 46 of his penalty time remaining. Play is in the Detroit zone. This time Carroll won the draw, and Willie Huber skates it out center ice. Polonich on the right side, but it went off Turnbull's skate and wide of him. Coming way out of the net, Paul Mateer had trouble with it. A centering pass by Carroll is broken up. Now Williams is back on. Toronto has the odd man. And here are the Leafs moving out center ice now with Ron Wilson. A long pass on the left side for Lanny McDonald. Lanny McDonald pulls up the rim of the circle, back on the point for Turnbull. Over on the right side, Wilson hands it off to McDonald, and Vachon knocked away his shot. Puck came back to the line for Turnbull again. Now here's Wilson. He sets up McDonald again, and again Vachon came on and stopped him. And twice now, McDonald has been set up perfectly in the circle to the right, and Vachon stopped him on the angle both times.
You know, a surprising thing, too, Bruce, is the fact that Coach Bobby Crom got caught. Vachon makes two big saves here on Lanny McDonald, but Bobby Crom got caught with Greg Carroll out there killing the penalty. Ordinarily, it's St. Laurent and Woods. He got caught with Greg Carroll and Woods. The first time I can see Carroll out there this year.
Another shot by Lanny McDonald went just wide. Ron Wilson chased it into the corner. They play it over along the boards. It came back to Lanny McDonald. Now it's Sittler with it. Darryl Sittler along the circle with it. Played it back on the line to Lanny McDonald. Another shot. Deflected right on. And Vachon cleared it away. Sittler had trouble along the boards, and the wings cleared it, but not out. Kept in at the line by McDonald. He hands it off to Turnbull. Turnbull goes to the corner with it. Into the opposite corner now to Sittler. Right out in front. Williams took the shot. Larson made the save. Reed Larson knocked it away. Toronto doing everything but putting it in the net, and now Dale McCourt picks it up and backhands it down the ice. A half a minute left in Harper's 5-minute penalty. Ian Turnbull bringing it out now center ice for the Leafs. Back into the Detroit zone. Turnbull was checked by Tony Bergman, and it was Larson that failed to work it out. Wilson held it in. Now here's Wilson playing it along the boards in the Detroit zone. Back he comes to the blue line. Ron Wilson handing it off to Tiger Williams. He faked the shot, played it back to the line. Wilson holds it in there. Now his pass over on the opposite point. Turnbull fired the shot. Vachon the save. It's Newton and score. Coming right in, Lanny McDonald fired it in as it lay right there in the goal mouth. And Toronto leads 1-0.
Well, they had their scoring chances, and Vachon was equal to every task, and this is a little bit of a fluke. The shot was taken from out along the boards. Vachon makes the save. It's right along the ice. He loses possession of the puck. McDonald come in and just picked it up in the crease, and he had the wide open net to throw it in. Put Toronto out in front 1-0.
And wouldn't you know, the goal comes at exactly the second that Harper was due out of the penalty box.
Vachon didn't know where the puck was. He turned the wrong way. He thought it was underneath his pads, and instead it was in behind him, lying right in the crease.
Lanny McDonald got the goal, poking it into the empty net. Turnbull and Wilson draw the assists on the goal. Scored by McDonald. Now the play went into the Toronto zone. But the Leafs break it up, clearing it back out center ice. Walt McKechnie brings it in, handed it off to Anderson. He failed to get loose, and now it's J.P. LeBlanc ahead to LeBreton. And LeBreton, a one-man rush, and Salming took it away from him. It's cleared back to Anderson, picked up by Salming at center ice, back into the Detroit zone. He's stripped, and Salming, waiting for a penalty that didn't come, took a pretty good bump from Willie Huber. And J.P. LeBlanc starts Hogebaum out. Hogebaum was dumped to the ice by Salming, and they're stepping into one another. Now J.P. LeBlanc and Salming, and J.P. LeBlanc is up and is questioning referee Dave Newell. They're both going to get penalties. But LeBlanc was dealt to the ice rather heavily. But the referee is going to wave the two of them off.
Well, kind of a surprise. Salming got knocked down first in the Detroit zone. Then he got bumped by Huber. Then he come out and got tangled at the blue line.
So while they go in, we'll pause for this.
Salming just lost his cool, I think, Bruce. He got knocked down deep in the zone. Then when he went in along the boards, Willie Huber took a little run at him and bumped him along the boards. Miller first, I think, really partially tripped him, I would say. Then he gets knocked by Huber in the boards. Then he come up through center ice and he got knocked down right at the blue line. Then he took out his madness at J.P. LeBlanc.
And the two of them go together for slashing at 12:35. So each team short a man. Toronto leads it 1-0. McDonald's 24th goal from Turnbull and Wilson at 11:34. And that was the exact time that Harper was due out of the penalty box. So it is not a power play goal, though he, of course, was just stepping out of the penalty box door. Now it's Tommy Bergman moving his way out center ice. A pass that went behind Libet. Goes the length of the ice. Hutchinson to touch it, and an icing call against the Red Wings. Well, you talk about mistakes, too, Sid, who so often cost you. And it was Reed Larson that had that puck and had it in great position, killing off a penalty. And he just sort of flipped it toward the blue line, and the Leafs had no trouble holding it in. Wilson did, and it ended up with a goal.
Well, he was on his backhand, and no doubt he has a lot of faith in being able to raise the puck high on his backhand, but he didn't get the wood to it, and it put it right out to Wilson. It was just a perfect play. Wilson knocked it down, say, head high, and kept the puck inside the zone, and first thing you know, it winds up in the net.
Danny Maloney came back to the Toronto bench, so he's all right. Now it's Willie Huber carrying it ahead to Dale McCourt, coming out center ice. McCourt skated it to the blue line, stopped right there. Dave Burrows heads back, fired it over on the left side for Pat Boutette. Boutette carries into the Detroit zone. He was stopped by Earl Thompson, but the puck was picked up. Here's Turnbull going after it. Fired a shot. Vachon made the save, and still McCourt starts out. Now it's Earl Thompson going into the Toronto zone. He put it out in front. A chance for Willie Huber with a shot. And Burrows got a stick on that and deflected it way up into the crowd.
Bruce, as I see the game right now, and it's been a good first period, the Toronto defense, when Detroit is carrying the play and coming back towards the Toronto zone, the Toronto defense is standing well up at the blue line. When Toronto carry the play in, Detroit defensemen are giving them a little ground right at the blue line, and the Leafs are able to get inside the zone and then make little plays back out to the points and causes troubles to the wing.
53 seconds remaining in the penalties. The LeBlanc of Detroit, Salming of Toronto. Now it's Nedomansky and Thompson for the Wings. And Toronto with Jerry Butler and Jones. Willie Huber holds it in, took a shot, knocked down in front. Earl Thompson scores! Thompson grabbed the rebound and fires it in. And it's a tie hockey game.
Part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The puck just come out, deflected right over to Earl Thompson, and he jumped on it about 20 feet out in front of the net, put it right along the ice, buried it right from the hash marks. Palmateer had no chance at all.
There was a penalty going to be called, Sid, as Thompson was being checked from behind. But, of course, the goal being scored, and that's waved off. Earl Thompson gets his 16th of the season. And the Red Wings have tied the game at one aside. Now the play back into the Detroit zone. The Wings fail to work it out. The shot from the blue line fired by Quenneville. It's cleared back out center ice. Willie Huber drew one of the assists. If there was another, we'll check it for you. Ron Ellis with a quick shot inside the line, wide of the Detroit goal. Nedomansky dug it out of the corner, carried in behind his own goal. He's checked there by McKechnie, but the puck loose to Reed Larson. Now Willie Huber with a rolling puck, cleared it ahead to Nedomansky, trying to go through, and he failed to do it. And the Leafs bring it back out center ice. Penalized players are back on. Salming and LeBlanc. Each team is at full strength. From center ice, Larson whistled a shot. Palmateer just got a piece of it. It goes deep into the corner. Lanny McDonald of Toronto. Clearing it ahead, moving with it is Dave Hutchinson into the Detroit end. He took a backhander that Terry Miller deflected that ends up into the crowd. And we shall be back after we pause now for this. Just a touch more than 5 minutes to go in the first period with the game tied 1-1. Toronto and Detroit, and it's been a good one. Darryl Sittler and Tiger Williams, the two forwards, along with Lanny McDonald for Toronto. The Wings have Greg Carroll along with Dennis Polonich and Senrol Ra. From the face-off, Carroll won the draw. Perry Miller sweeps it out on the right side for Polonich. He had trouble with Williams, dug it away a second time. He's still kicking away at it, still deep in the Detroit end. They hold it in along the boards, and the whistle stops the play. Face-off will remain to the right of Rogie Vachon. And it was Huber that drew the only assist on the goal scored by Errol Thompson. It came with each team short a man. Rogie Vachon doing a little work along the mask, has that completed, so the face-off will take place to the right of the Detroit goal. 4 minutes, 51 seconds to play in the first period. 1-1 tie. Puck came right back to Solming with a shot, and Vachon reached out and grabbed that one. Big move by Rogie Vachon with that quick left hand.
That's how important those face-offs are, Greg. Carroll just lost that face-off to Sittler. It come right back out to Solming, and he fired it through a screen. And Rogie Vachon threw that glove hand out on a puck that was going to go just inside the post down low, and he made a beautiful save.
Now Maloney comes out to play the right side on a line centered by Sittler with Lanny McDonald on the left wing. Dale McCourt will take the face-off against Sittler. Puck went to the boards. Coming out with it was Terry Harper. Good quick pass to San Laurent. Andre San Laurent took a shot, but Solming blocked that before it got through. San Laurent pulled his man off balance. The puck is held in. Here's Dennis Polonich with it, shooting it into the corner. Polonich was knocked down. San Laurent lifted deeper, but it'll be Solming covering up as he goes in behind his own goal. Boreas Solming turning out on the right side with a pass to Sittler. Now Darryl Sittler coming out center ice. Fired from center ice, shot it wide. Lanny McDonald was digging in after it, but he was covered by Carroll, and the wings start out with Terry Harper. Left side pass to San Laurent. Here comes another penalty. Here goes Maloney after Harper again. And down they go right at the Toronto blue line as Maloney took a shot at Terry Harper. Honest, I did not see it start. It was away from the plate, did you?
No, I didn't notice it either. I would think, you know, they always say when you've been in a fight, if you want to even up for anything that happens, take your time. There'll always be a chance where you can really get even with a fella, but here's the first shift, and Maloney's been back on the ice, and he just made a beeline for Harper, and I'm sure he didn't cause any damage. Maloney's bleeding again. His nose is bleeding. He'll be going back to the dressing room again.
He took a run at Harper right at the Toronto blue line. And he's going off, and they're going to send Harper. No, I don't think they are. Dave Newell is saying, I believe, to Harper, no. So it looks like it'll be Maloney only, and while they figure it out again, we'll take time for this, Smithy. Well, Terry Harper just smiling now because Dan Maloney has picked up 2 minor penalties.
And he got just what he deserved. He made a run at him for no reason at all, and this is what you call foolish penalties. Now, if the Wings can capitalize...
Maloney has 2 for high sticking and 2 more for roughing at 15:56, and Terry Harper has no penalty. So that means the Red Wings are now going to have back-to-back power play opportunities and a little revenge on the part of number 9, Dan Maloney. I imagine, has his coach, Roger Nielsen, a little upset.
I would think so.
Well, a fellow we talked about a little while ago, Greg Jolly, who's due back in the Red Wing uniform on the ice here in a couple of weeks, we hope, will be joining Sid Abel between the first and second periods on our broadcast location. So Detroit now with a great opportunity. They keep Greg Carroll out with San Laurent and Polonich. Jones and Carroll waved out of the face-off. So Butler comes in to face San Laurent. San Laurent won the draw. Puck is cleared to the line, but that's as far as it got as the Leafs drive it back into the Detroit end. Willie Huber comes back after it. Now it's ahead to Dennis Polonich. A long left wing pass to San Laurent. Center ice to Huber. Willie Huber over the line. He was knocked down by Jones. Really spun to the ice. And the puck cleared back into the Detroit end. They're bumping each other. 1-1 tie. Wings have the extra man. Here's Huber. It bounced away from him. And at center ice, Jones picked it up, shot it back into the Detroit end. And the Wings not having anything going just yet. Reed Larson starts out. Now Larson took it over the line, bounced it toward the corner. Sam Laroux put it out in front. And Polonich couldn't get to it. Oh, there's another penalty coming up now as Hutchinson really made a whack at the Red Wing player down below us, Reed Larson. Hutchinson is going to pick up the penalty, but now Hutchinson and Larson start to go at it with the two of them down on the ice. Willie Huber and Jones are doing a little shoving with the referee in between them.
They probably played junior against one another a couple of years ago. Willie Huber's Detroit's #1 draft pick.
Well, Hutchinson was picking up the penalty, and then Larson went after him. Now, whether had Larson stayed out of it, the Red Wings would have had a two-man advantage. Now, Willie Huber and Jones have themselves a little tussle right in front of the Toronto bench. And the two linesmen, or no, one of them moves in there. They're not swinging. It's more of a wrestling match. And Hutchinson will go in, and so will Larson.
I don't know how good a fighter Hutchinson is, but I'll say this. He picked on probably the best fighter on the Red Wing team, and Reed Larson. Reed Larson can really handle himself. It got to be a wrestling match. Reed Larson, I don't think, could help himself, Bruce. They were locked up, and when a fellow starts to throw you down, you've got to try and hold your balance, and I think it was just a case he wrestled with him and wound up getting a penalty, too. It could be that Hutchinson might get 4 minutes.
I would guess that Hutchinson will get 4 because he had already picked up 1 penalty. Now Dave Newell skates over to warn the boys to get into the penalty box. Willie Huber and Jones still having words, but about 25 feet apart.
You know, we were talking before, just the start of the game, Bruce, the fact this is Toronto's first appearance here. You know, this was always the big drawing card in Detroit. Toronto more so than even Montreal many years ago. And it's a crime that you only play this club twice here in Detroit and twice in Toronto. And the fact that here it is, February the 19th, and they're making their first appearance of the year. This is a rivalry that's been going on in hockey since this building was opened in 1927. So this is what the fans love.
Tell you what else is coming up next Wednesday. The Red Wings and the Washington Capitals will go at it in Washington, as we'll take a look at Dennis Hextall in uniform for the first time. And my last understanding, and I hate to say this, is that there is no telecast of the hockey game and no radio.
That's hard to believe because it would have been a dandy. Hextall will
be a dandy.
Yes, Hextall will be trying to even some scores against management, players, and whatnot in the Detroit club. In fact, I was thinking, Bruce, if we were going to telecast it or going to broadcast it, sitting up at the stands, that we better maybe put helmets on, too. But this has been a terrific first period of hockey. There's been several little fights. It's been a physical period. The big thing is the Wings have not been physical this year. Can they continue to play this type of hockey for 60 minutes? No doubt Toronto will, and it's going to be interesting to find out. It would be nice to see if the Wings could jump in front to find out then if they would just keep going up and down and bumping and find out just how great this Toronto Hockey Club is.
Well, they have yet to post the penalties up there. Now they do. Well, they have one of them listed at 2 minutes. So I believe that's what's going to happen. Hutchinson is going to get Hutchinson is going to get a 2-minute penalty. Probably the original call. And then he and Reed Larson will pick up 5-minute additional fighting penalties. And Huber and Jones probably 5 minutes for fighting because they have both already gone to the penalty, or rather to their dressing rooms. So what it amounts to is Detroit is going to have a 2-man advantage then.
The play just come around. It was an innocent-looking play. Hutchinson went in along, and he took a slash at Reed Larson before Larson made a play on the puck at all. And then he grabbed Larson along the boards, and Larson really didn't do anything until it got to be a wrestling match and where you try to hold your balance before getting thrown down to the ice. And Larson winds up getting a major penalty because of that. Hutchinson's a big boy. He is the second leading penalty man in the National League. Tiger Williams is leading the league. The entire Toronto Hockey Club is the league leaders in penalties in the National League.
Well, as I have figured it out, as best I can pick it out of here, the Red Wings are going to come out on top in the penalty department because Hutchinson has picked up 2 penalties, 2 for slashing and 5 for fighting. Larson gets 5 for fighting, and Huber and Jones 5 for fighting.
The only bad thing about it is that the Wings can't afford to lose Willie Huber. He is their shining light back there in the blue line.
The referee and his linesman conversing on the ice out there is Dave Newell. Bob Hodges having quite a conversation.
The big thing now, if the Wings can get possession of the puck, get in deep into Toronto's zone, take their time and move it around. They've got 2 extra men. They should be able to find someone that is open, but the passes have to be perfect.
Well, the juggling of players in and out of the penalty box right now. And we're about to go. The Wings have a 2-man advantage. We have a little more than 3 minutes to play in the first period. Detroit tied 1-1 with Toronto. Nick Libet jammed in along the boards. Ryan Mahoney comes out there. Earl Thompson, he dropped it back on the blue line to Tommy Bergman to Netamansky. Back to Tommy Bergman. He handed it off the side of the net to Dale McCourt. McCourt fired a shot, and it's knocked away. McCourt took a shot from a long ways away and at a very bad angle. Something you don't usually do with a 2-man advantage. Now McCourt has it deep in his own zone, handing it off to Tommy Bergman, and now Netamansky. Here's Netamansky. Puck is tipped into the Toronto zone. Turnbull goes in with Libet. Libet took a bump, still controlled the puck. Played it along the boards. McCourt has it back along the blue line. Here's a shot by McCourt, knocked away. Out in front, Libet. And Turnbull are in a jam up there. Turnbull has Libet stick grab. Here's Earl Thompson, and he shot it way wide. Wings with a 2-man advantage. Libet and Turnbull battling in front. Here's Dale McCourt. McCourt circling with it, skating all over the ice, handing it back to Netamansky. He took a shot from way out. And it ended up in the crowd off a Toronto stick. And the Wings, with a 2-man advantage, really didn't get into position at all.
They're not having a good selection of shots. Dale McCourt, on his first shot, he had players spotted out 20, 25 feet directly out in front of the net, and he shot from a right angle. Didn't have a chance of scoring a goal.
Tell you, Libet and Turnbull are really having a battle out in front of the goal.
Well, that's what you call trying to screen. Nicky Libet's trying to hold his ground, and you notice Palmatier is involved in it too.
And the referee went over and talked to the both of them. 51 seconds remaining in Hutchinson's penalty. A minute 55, and the second of the 2 penalties to Maloney. Had the Wings scored a goal before the 5 seconds.
They've taken a 30-second break now, Toronto, to talk things over.
I was going to say, had the Wings scored a goal during that rush, then Maloney would have still had about 2 minutes to serve his second penalty. But as it is, he now has 1:55 to go, so one of his 2 back-to-back penalties is by the board. And a timeout taken, and this is the first time, as long as we've been watching, that a team has taken a timeout before the 3rd period.
And no doubt Roger Nielsen is doing this to give Turnbull and Salming,
Palmatier, perhaps,
and even Palmatier a rest because of the pressure that's been put on down there. But the Wings, they're in ideal position. The face-off is deep in Toronto's zone. The big thing now is for Dale McCourt to see if he can win the face-off, get the play back out to his point men, and move it around a few times. They're trying to shoot from too far out instead of getting the open man and making a perfect pass and hopefully score a goal.
So a 2-man advantage for still 55 seconds for Detroit. Game tied at 1-1. Now it's Gary Monahan moving in against Dale McCourt. McCourt won the draw. Tommy Bergman handed it back to Netamansky. Now it's Tommy Bergman with it. Back to Dale McCourt out along the line. Netamansky with a shot. The puck went off of Libet. Driven back to the line. McCourt held it in. Now Tommy Bergman handing it to Dale McCourt. Takes the shot. Held on to it. Back now to Tommy Bergman. Bergman took the shot. He fired it way wide. And the puck came all the way back into the Detroit zone. And with a 2-man advantage, the Wings have not had a good shot in close. Now it's Dale McCourt down the left side, a one-man rush. He was dumped going over the line with a two-man advantage. The Wings tried to send one man in, and the Leafs clear it all the way back in to the Detroit zone. Netamansky starts out. Now Errol Thompson and Dale McCourt on the right side. Dennis Polonich. Polonich headed to the corner, held it there. Now Polonich held it onto the circle. Back on the line to McCourt. McCourt another long shot, and again it's knocked away. And now back on is Jerry Butler. The puck is fired back into the Detroit zone. The Wings have a one-man advantage. Errol Thompson held the puck in his own zone, now turns with it. Here's Thompson coming out center ice, turned around by Sittler. In the center ice zone, Thompson. Errol Thompson heads into the Toronto zone, goes chasing after it, took the shot and went over the top of the goal. The Wings will hold it in. Sittler had Netamansky, gave him a rap on the head, and Netamansky came back and swung at Sittler. And now Sittler and Netamansky go down on the ice. And there's history in the making. Netamansky actually turned around and swung a right hand at Darryl Sittler.
Now that's a first for this year. Netamansky, that's something that Coach Bobby Crom has wanted Big Ned to do all year long. Get involved in something a little more physical. It's catching, I guess, this rough, tough type hockey.
Sittler had lost his stick. He turned around and took a whack at Netamansky. And then Netamansky came back, dropped the glove, and swung a right hand at him, and they'll both go off. We have 35 seconds remaining in the first period. It's been a wild one. Game is tied at 1-1.
Here was a case where Netamansky was trying to make a check on Sittler, and Sittler cross-checked him way up high on the back of the head. And Netamansky, while trying to keep the puck in the zone, turned around to keep Sittler out of it. Sittler gave him a push. Netamansky turns around, and surprisingly, I would think it even surprised Sittler, because Netamansky doesn't.
Might have surprised Netamansky.
He turned around and took his swing, so they're both in the penalty box.
They give them each 5-minute fighting penalties again. Well, the Wings, with 35 seconds remaining in the period, 31 seconds left in the penalty to Dan Maloney, still have the extra man, but they have done very little with a great opportunity. Perry Miller back along the blue line. He handed it off to San Laurent. Back on the line, Miller let a shot go, knocked down in front. It ended up in the crowd, deflected up there. And they'll bring the face-off in the circle in the Toronto zone. Leafs want the face-off out over the Detroit, or rather the Toronto blue line, but not so. Well, we have played almost an hour here in the first period, a little less, about 55 minutes. And it's been a wild one. Red Wings have 6 and Toronto 9 in the penalty department, if my bookkeeping is right. The goals are 1 apiece. One of the Red Wing penalties, however, was a 5-minute penalty to Terry Harper. Monahan made the move about 4 times against Greg Carroll. When the puck was dropped, he handled it. Then it's taken away by San Laurent. Back on the line to Miller. Perry Miller's pass broken up by McKechnie. It came out center ice. And they rule that the Wings had sent it back in offside. 14 seconds to go in the first period. Well, Detroit had a 2-man advantage for a full 2 minutes and didn't do a thing with it. The shots on goal, I believe, when they are posted at the end of the first period, will find Detroit well out in front. Now Dennis Polonich with a bouncing puck over the line. It's played back out center ice. Harper has it there. And the play is whistled down. The puck knocked down with a high stick, but there's only 5 seconds remaining. But the faceoff will come deep into the Detroit end. So Maloney is due out in 1 second, and Bobby Crom in behind the Detroit bench. A little disappointed over the fact that his team has had every opportunity here in the first period. So far as power plays have been concerned, but he has none to show for it. And the game remains a 1-1 tie. Toronto's goal came at 11:34, the exact time that Terry Harper was due back out onto the ice. It would not be a power play goal, but Harper had, of course, no opportunity to get back into the play. Walt McKechnie positioning his man, but they face off one by McCord. It came loose out in front. And it's picked up by the wings. Dennis Polonich as the buzzer goes to end a wild first period from here at Olympia Stadium in Detroit. And as the two teams make their way into their respective dressing rooms, we tell you the end of the first period with a score. The Detroit Red Wings won, the Toronto Maple Leafs won. And so after one period of play, the Detroit Red Wings and Toronto Maple Leafs tied the game as 1-1. In the first period, the Wings outshot Toronto by a slighter margin than what I thought it might be, 13-11. Well, a fellow that we'll welcome back into a Red Wing uniform, I hope in a couple of weeks or maybe even a little less, is joining Sid Abel right now. Let's join Sid and Greg Jolly.
Thanks, Bruce. Greg, before talking about your injury and the fact that you're coming back to lineup, I'd like to hear just a few comments from you about this rough, tough first period we just watched.
Well, it's a good hockey game, Sid. Both teams are skating and hitting, and you know, that's our game, and we've got to come out skating. And Toronto's a hitting team, so they're going to come out hitting. But you know, there's a couple rivalries now because there's a couple players used to play in Toronto that used to play here, and I'm sure they want to win, and we want to win. So it's an interesting hockey game.
All right, Greg, the fact that you're not playing yet with the Wings this season, do you attend the team meeting like at noon? Do they talk about the fact that, does Coach Bobby Crom go over the fact that this may have been a rough hockey game?
No, not really. It's just like any other game. We take Toronto's best points and we try to utilize our best points against them, and we just go about like we do for every other team. We know that they're a hitting team, but they're not fast like we are, so we're trying to utilize our speed.
Now, let's just talk about Greg Jolly. Last year in the playoffs against Montreal, after having a terrific season with the Wings, you injured your wrist. Do you want to go on and just tell our viewers what happened?
Well, as everybody knows, I injured the wrist again in the playoffs, and I was put in a cast for several months, and when the cast was removed, the injury hadn't healed, so therefore they had to do surgery on it, and I went into another cast for another longer period of time, and a month ago I got the cast off, and now I'm just going through therapy and waiting for the wrist to heal, and so I can get back in action.
All right, Greg, after spending pretty well all summer, and I know that your home is out in Calgary, did you have an idea that after spending all summer that you wouldn't be able to play when you reported to training camp?
No, I was all set, ready to go when training camp was around the corner, and I worked all summer trying to get into shape, and I was very disappointed when I came to camp, and I found out that I wouldn't be able to start the season, but that's the breaks in hockey, and hopefully I'll be able to come back before the season's over.
Well, you're not the only one that was disappointed, young man. I'll tell you, both Ted Lindsay and Bobby Crom were praising your play last year. Now you're skating with the club. You've been skating for a couple of weeks. I understand the little notes we get that they made some kind of a brace for your wrist today. What's that? Well,
I went to Ann Arbor and got a brace made, and hopefully I was told I was going on the next road trip, so hopefully I'll be going not to sit in the stands, I'll be going to play.
You mean that soon? Because I understand you're going on this road trip now back to Washington for Wednesday and for the New York Islanders on Saturday. Do you expect to play that soon?
Hopefully, Sid, yes.
All right, now, to play, Greg, you haven't been able to practice full tilt, have you? I mean, would you know who that you're going to be paired with, or would you just be used sparingly?
I'll probably just fill in duty here and there till I get the feel of things again, but you know, it's tough. You got to get into game conditions, getting yourself in a real good shape, and you can't do it just by scrimmaging with the team. And it's tough to come back at this point of the year because everybody's in great shape. But I've got confidence in myself, and I think I can do a job.
All right, Greg, reporting back to the club, and on the fact that you didn't play, there was so much talk at the start of the season that after the Wings had the big year last year, that they were on their way. Well, this year has proved a little bit of a disappointment. Is there any special reason in your mind why things haven't clicked?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. A little bit of bad luck, and being such a young team, the players panicked, and you know, they had such a great year last year, and they weren't used to losing, and things got going bad, and everybody tried to do it themselves and not play as a team, and consequently, you know, when it's just individual effort, you just can't win hockey games, and I think that was our biggest fault.
All right, now you have an outstanding young fellow, #1 draft pick, joined the hockey club this year. If you were to come back, if you were to play with Willie Huber, would that help your enhance your game? Because you're a puck carrier and you move the puck real well. Would you enjoy playing with a fellow like Willie Hubert?
Oh yeah, I think I'd like to play at any of the defense on a team. I think they're all great defensemen. But yeah, it'd be nice to play with Willie. He's big and he moves the puck well. He's real smart. He plays his position well, and you know, he'd help me a lot because he could carry the puck out a bit more, and I wouldn't have to do so much work.
All right, Greg, let's just talk Greg Jolly, the well-to-do farmer out in Western Canada. I understand you own a farm near Calgary?
Well, I'm not exactly a farmer. I'm just a pleasure farmer, Sid. I've got a couple horses, and that's about it, but I'm no big farmer by any means.
You spend your summers back in Western Canada?
Oh, that's right, yeah. I spend them in Calgary. I've got a little store there now, and that keeps me busy for most of the summer.
Married?
Oh, yes. Yeah, married with one little boy.
Good. You know, you're a favorite of mine, Greg. I have to tell a story. Back in '74, I went away out to Calgary to watch the junior playoffs, and you were selected as the #1 player in Canada by Washington, and it's really a pleasure to see you wind up in Detroit. I hope you're happy here.
Oh, I sure am, Sid. It's a great hockey town, and hopefully I'll be able to spend a few more years here.
Well, Greg, I want to thank you for taking time out to stop by. Get back in the lineup. Very best luck to the Wings for the last 24, 25 games, and I hope your game just comes on as strong as we know it will.
Thank you very much, Sid.
Now let's go back to Bruce Martin.
Sid, we thank you and Greg Jolly for an interesting conversation between the first and second periods from here at Olympia Stadium, where the score is tied at 1-1, and we shall be back with more after we pause now for this. Well, Sid, we had what I'd have to call a kind of a wild first period of the hockey game here between the Red Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs, with the total penalties as they gathered them at 15. And I think if there was a disappointment for Bobby Crom in that first period, it had to be the play of his team with that extra man. We have mentioned that they have scored 58 power play goals this season. That's more than anybody else in the National Hockey League, and yet you'll never have a better opportunity for a solid 2 minutes, a two-man advantage, and yet they really didn't threaten.
Bruce, as you mentioned, it was a terrific, like it was an old-time hockey game. Knock them down, stand, get up, and get knocked down again. No doubt Bobby Crom is a little put out in the fact that they didn't score, but that's the way the Wings have played pretty well all year long. They have looked terrific at times on their power play, and the fact that they are leading the league. But then there are other times that they don't get over center ice with the puck, so I think Bobby Crom has to expect that. But he at least had a chance to put 5 of his better hockey players on the ice. I thought they made a bad selection in some of their shots. Instead of working the puck in a little closer and maybe taking it where they could get it and have just about a dead-on chance in scoring goal, they were shooting from 35 and 40 feet. The screen was out in front of Palmateer, but it was the Toronto defensemen that were making all the saves. Palmateer didn't really have to come up with anything at all when they had the two-man advantage.
Well, this is perhaps what frustrated them to some extent, the fact that they weren't able to work it in close, and so they figured, well, if we can't do it this way, we'll fire it from out here and see if we can't get to a rebound. I gave Nick Libet a great deal of credit on that power play because he was taking a heck of a working over out in front of Palmateer, but he stayed right there and did the job he was there to do.
Well, there was a case now when Nicky Libet was involved with Turnbull. Palmateer got in the act too. Now that's when the puck should have been shot, when they were involved with the player out in front. But the Wings hesitated on shooting. Then it would come back, say, to Bergman. Bergman would be 35 or 40 feet out. He would take a look, hope for the screen. While nothing was developing directly in front of the net, it was out maybe 5, 6, or 8 feet out in front. Then he would elect to shoot. And Turnbull and those fellows, Salming and them, were just turning the puck aside or deflecting it and putting it up in the crowd. And it was a case where the Wings were just got too excited about trying to score the goal instead of taking their time and making sure of the one shot and putting it in the net.
Well, Sid, as you look, and we have watched now 56 games the Red Wings have played this season, we have watched a heck of a good first period. The Wings out shooting Toronto 13-11, and a game tied at 1-1. Good goaltending on the part of both of the two teams. Now, what do you look forward to in the second period?
I don't think there'll be a let-up, Bruce. The big thing is, will the Wings continue to play? Because the Wings have had problems putting 60 minutes together. I'm hoping that the Wings can come back and play as well in the second period and as well in the third period as they did in the first. If they do, I think they can win this hockey game. But they can't let up, because any time you can put Sittler and McDonald and Salming, fellows like that, and Walt McKechnie who can score goals, you put them on the ice, Toronto will move the puck, and they will move it into position for a guy to get a good poke at the net. And hopefully, Vachon could be hot. It looks like it's going to be a tremendous hockey game.
Well, the Red Wings and Toronto will be playing without 2 of their big scoring guns for the first 4.5 minutes or so of the second period, because it was late in the period that Nedomansky and Sittler went off for fighting. And I think that anybody looks over the box score and sees Vaslov Nedomansky, 5-minute fighting penalty. They're going to figure it's a typographical error, but he came up and swung a pretty good one. Well, the two teams will be coming back out to get the second period underway. We're looking forward to it, and we'll be back with the second period face-off in just a moment. Super 6 Tire Centers brings you Moments to Remember. What current member of the Detroit Red Wings holds the National Hockey League record that he set in his rookie season? So, Sid, you ponder that one over, and we'll tell you a little more about it a little later on.
We'll tickle your funny bone with an hour of comedy, starting with Make Me Laugh at 11 and The Gong Show at 11:30 tonight on TV 50.
So, Bruce Martin along with Sid Abel, our producer Marvin Muse, with you from here at Olympia Stadium in Detroit, where the Red Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a 1-1 tie. I recounted here while I had the opportunity, and my statistics now show that Toronto had a total of 10 penalties in that first period, and the Red Wings 6, though one of the Red Wings' 6 penalties was a 5-minute major penalty to Terry Harper, but the Wings fought that off. It was just as Harper was getting back out onto the ice that McDonald scored. So it was really not technically a power play goal, though Harper was really not even onto the ice, and McDonald jammed it in. Harold Thompson got his goal with each team short a man, J.P. LeBlanc and Boris Soming in the penalty box at that time. Nedomansky and Sittler went off at 19:25 for their 5-minute fighting penalties. Jones, Larson, Huber all picked up 5 minutes, and so did Hutchinson at 16:52. So they'll be gone for the first minute and a half or so, or somewhere around there, for the start of the second period.
And Bruce, of the shots that were taken, the 11 shots that Toronto had, Lanny McDonald had 4 of them, Turnbull 2. Then the other 6 were taken, just one apiece, Williams, Monahan, Salming, Wilson, and McKechnie. For Detroit, the leading shot maker in the first period was Reed Larson with 3. Perry Miller had 2. Dale McCourt had 2, and then the rest, Nedomansky, Woods, Thompson, Huber, and Harper each had 1. So, and it was a very, I would think, even Steven first period, 13 shots to 11, pretty well dictates as to how the game went.
I did feel this, though, that the Red Wings perhaps had more scoring chances that were stopped out in front of Palmatier that weren't actually recorded, of course, as shots and goals.
Yes, the only time Vachon was real busy is when Toronto had the man advantage, or the man advantage about midway through the period, and they caused Vachon to come up with 2 or 3 saves, and they scored the goal just right when Harper's penalty was up.
So there are 3 players on each side of the penalty box, 3 of the Wings and 3 of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hutchinson and Sittler and Jones of Toronto, Huber, Larson, and Nedomansky of Detroit. The referee skates over there to see if the timer has everything set up. The teams are at full strength, actually on the ice. All of those in the penalty box serving 5-minute majors. So Dale McCourt with Errol Thompson on one wing, and over on the other side now is Dennis Polonich. The absence of Nedomansky. McCourt won the face-off from Walt McKechnie, and now it's Terry Harper coming out. Harper wound up for a long shot. Paul Matier stops that easily, and Salming goes in behind his own goal. Now Boyer Salming played it on the left side, and Joel Quenneville brings it up center ice and dumps it deep into the Detroit zone. Vachon came out of the goal. McKechnie stopped his clearing pass, put it out in front. There's Maloney, and he just failed to get to it. Puck came back toward the blue line. McKechnie has it there. McKechnie shooting it in behind the Detroit goal. Thompson and Harper bumped in the corner. They jam in along the boards. Harper goes right in after Maloney, and that puck is still loose. Dennis Polonich finally kicked it away, and coming out with it is McCourt. Dale McCourt faked the shot from the blue line, then flipped it in toward the corner. Quenneville covered up on him, and Boyer Salming turns it back out with a good pass to McKechnie. Walter McKechnie moving his way out center ice, drops it off for Maloney. Maloney digs into the corner again. Harper taking right out in front, and Vachon made it on Ron Ellis. Ron Ellis was wide open, and Rogie Vachon covered up perfectly. Now the play back into the Toronto zone. There'll be a penalty coming up to Quenneville, who grabbed on to Errol Thompson. On the delayed call, here's Thompson with a chance. His shot was blocked out in front. It came back to Harper. Red Wings have lifted their goaltender for the extra attacker, and as Toronto gains possession, the penalty will be called, and Detroit will have still another power play chance. And we'll be back to see what they do with it after we pause for this. Joe Quenneville has gone off for high sticking at 1:24 of the period, so the Red Wings now will have a power play chance, the 11th penalty to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And both goaltenders have been tested here early. Vachon made a terrific save on a play that was kind of a surprise play coming from behind the net, come right out to Ellis. Ellis got away the minute it hit his stick, and Vachon just come up with a fantastic save. Then Errol Thompson had an equal chance down at the other end. Vachon was really alert on Ellis's shot.
Now Paul Woods is centering a line with Bolduc and Libet. Play went in behind the Toronto goal into the corner. Libet went in after it, being checked by Turnbull, pulled away from him. In behind the net, played it back to the point. Back there is McCourt with a shot, and it went just wide. Now Tommy Bergman for the other point, and he broke his stick on her. Didn't break his stick, but he got only a piece of the shot. It was kept in by Bergman. He slid it into the corner. Coming way out of his net, Paul Matier cleared it right onto the stick of Woods, but it slipped away from him. And moving out now is Monahan. He took Butler's pass, goes into the Detroit zone, went around McCourt, and he scores! Vachon came out and just missed him. And Monahan gets a shorthanded goal, and Toronto takes a 2-1 lead. Surprising play, and it didn't really look all that dangerous.
And Monahan has only scored one goal this season. He just cut. That's what you always have to be careful of. You catch a forward back playing the defensive position. He just went straight down his wrong wing. Let on he was going to go around behind the net, then pulled over sharply. Vachon somehow missed the puck when he played. He came out on his elbow with his goal stick and missed the play altogether, and it went right in the net.
Well, the Red Wings gave up a shorthanded goal in the game against Pittsburgh yesterday, and they have given another one here. Butler will draw the assist. He started Monahan on his way. It didn't look all that dangerous. Now the play is back into the Toronto zone. Reed Larson whistled a shot, but he fired it just wide. And it lodged in the back of the net, so they'll bring the face-off all the way out over the Detroit blue line. The Wings still have the extra man for 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And had Reed Larson's shot been on the net, it would have been in, because Palmatier was playing pretty well in the middle of the net and missed the post by a couple inches.
So the play will come out the center ice zone just over the Toronto Maple Leaf blue line. Jones in against Paul Woods. Woods won the face-off. It came to Reed Larson. Larson just sent it into the corner. Turnbull fires it off the boards to the line. Willie Huber held it in. Now Huber dumped it off the side of the circle to Woods. Back to Huber. He fired a shot. That was blocked by Butler. Just got about 5 feet out in front of Huber. They shoot it down the ice. Vachon hands it off now to Larson. Out on the right side to Dan Bolduc. Ahead of him is LeBratton. Danny LeBratton carries over the line. His pass tipped away by Solming. And again, the Leafs shoot at the length of the ice, and Vachon drops it off for Larson. And the crowd changes in a hurry a moment ago, and Vachon just robbed Ron Ellis. They were all for him, and he made a bit of a mistake on the last goal, and they're riding him now. Here is Willie Huber carrying into the Toronto zone. It came back to Reed Larson. He fired one right on, a loose puck out in front. They score! Willie Hogebaum! Hogebaum in the rebound and tying the game at 2-2.
And that's Billy Hogebaum's first goal for the Red Wings. He's only been here for 2 or 3 games. This was a tremendous shot by Larson from just inside the blue line. A Toronto mistake. They put it right back to him. He walked into about 40 feet. Palmatier made the save. The puck come right back out to Hogebaum, and Hogebaum made no mistake with it at all in the empty net. Palmatier made the first save on Larson's blistering shot, but then he couldn't cover the rebound, and Hogebaum made no mistake at all. And that's a good thing in hockey, when you can bounce right back and tie it after giving up a bad goal.
Larson and Huber draw the assist on the goal by Hogebaum. He had scored one early in the season for Minnesota. Now he scores one for the Wings. He has 2 on the year. Teams are back at full strength, and the Leafs bring it back into the Detroit end offside. So they'll come out over the Detroit blue line. Hogebaum from Larson and Huber at 3 minutes and 11 seconds on the power play.
Bruce, I'm going to ask you, was that a power play goal? No. Both teams were playing 5-men aside, I'm sure.
No, I believe Quenneville was off for high sticking.
That's right.
Was it not?
Yes, he went off at 124.
And the goal at 3:11, so the Wings gave up a shorthanded goal and then scored. Now here's Terry Harper clearing it out center ice. Boris Salming has it there. He didn't wait long enough for his team to come back. And they whistle it down on the offside, and they'll bring it out center ice.
You know, and an oddity about this game and the fact that there have been so many penalties, Detroit's leading penalty timekeeper, or penalty man for the season, Dennis Polonich, hasn't been involved in one thing tonight. So you can always expect some kind of fireworks from little Dennis Polonich.
Teams at full strength as McKechnie centers McDonald and Maloney. And the Wings have Carroll with Polonich and San Laurent. Puck bounced back out center ice. McKechnie carried it back into his own zone and now turns with it. Here's Walter McKechnie. He cleared it into the Detroit zone. The Wings didn't go after it. Lanny McDonald did, but it skipped away from him. Carroll's pass went right through Polonich, and Maloney holds it in. But he put it right on the stick of San Laurent. San Laurent and Carroll start out. The play broken up right at the line by Quenneville, and now it's San Laurent turning back at his own blue line for Detroit. Being chased by Lanny McDonald, San Laurent sends it off to Perry Miller. Now Miller, San Laurent with a bouncing puck over the line, being chased by Quenneville. Quenneville took him in high along the board. Now the two of them drop the gloves, and they're going to go at it. And down on the ice, Quenneville went in very high on San Laurent, and then San Laurent spun off the check and gave Quenneville a little jab, and the two of them are on the ice with the two linesmen down between them. And Ryan Bozak and Bob Hodges have had their work cut out for them. But you hit it on the head, Sid. Things haven't changed a bit between the first and the second period.
There's no love lost here. I would think that possibly Andre St. Laurent might wind up getting a little extra, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, they'll be heading in, and we'll be back with more after we pause now for this. Andre St. Laurent is going to pick up an additional 2 minutes by the looks of things.
When he bounced off the boards, Bruce, he brought his stick up real high and hit Quenneville up, pretty well up in the shoulder or up under his helmet. He gets a roughing penalty, then 5 minutes for fighting. Quenneville just gets the 5 minutes. So they will have a case where Quenneville just made a play along.
Really
he run him, but then Andre St. Laurent come back. Quenneville goes back at him, and no one was hurt on the little ensuing fight. It's a little wrestling match. Kind of a mismatch. Quenneville's a pretty big boy, and Andre St. Laurent is not that.
I would say it was rather questionable because certainly Quenneville came up with a stick up and
he could have got a boarding penalty.
Face. So now the Wings are short a man. San Laurent has the extra 2 minutes to serve. Play goes back into the Toronto zone with Salming turning in behind his own goal. Boris Salming starting out. Here's Salming coming out center ice. Salming drove it off to the side of the net. Tommy Bergman went after it, didn't get it out, but it bounced off a Toronto player up into the crowd. And the face-off will come out over the Detroit blue line. And so now the Red Wings have had 8 penalties and Toronto 12. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 major penalties in the hockey game so far. That's a lot. Here's Nick Libet as a penalty killer. He took the puck right to the Toronto line, turned around, sent it back to Tommy Bergman. Bergman, a bad pass deep in his own zone, and Reed Larson had to cover up, but it's still deep in the Detroit end. Libet got into it, and Sittler held it in. Salming hands it off to Wilson. Wilson put it right out in front, and Williams deflected it over the top of the Detroit goal. Back to the point now for Salming. On the right point to Wilson. Wilson fired it into the corner, going in, Libet and Williams. A puck stayed right there. Lanny McDonald sent it back to Salming. Here's Salming driving a shot. Libet blocked it. And Tommy Bergman tipped it ahead for Libet. Salming is without a stick. Libet moves over the line into the Toronto zone with a shot. And Paul Mateer blocked that. And then dumped it into the corner after he held it for a bit. And the Leafs will play it. 45 seconds remaining in San Laurent's minor penalty. Now the Leafs start out again. Quick pass over the line into the Detroit zone for Butler. And Tommy Bergman deflected his shot high up into the crowd. And it's been sustained action really since the opening face-off of the hockey game. There's not an empty seat. If there are very few of them here at Olympia tonight. And the crowd has been on its feet a good deal of the time.
And had Nicky Libet got a little more on his shot, he kind of surprised Pommet here. He caught Salming without a stick. He dipsy-dooed, Salming backed in, and he just snapped a little shot, and it handcuffed Pommet here, but it didn't have enough steam to go right through, but it come within a whisker of scoring and putting the Wings out in front.
So now the play will be to the left side of the Detroit goal. Walter McKechnie with Ellis and Anderson up front. Turnbull and Wilson back at the points on the power play for the Leafs. McKechnie won the draw. Here's Wilson at the right point. Played it over on the opposite side. Turnbull fired the shot. Vachon kicked it away. Ellis took it off the boards. Back to Turnbull. In the corner now to McKechnie. Walter McKechnie skated it back toward the line. Errol Thompson knocked it away from him. Sent it down the ice. Dale McCourt was free, but Wilson beat him to the puck. 10 seconds left in the Detroit penalty. Game tied at 2-2. We have 13 and a half minutes to go in the second period. Walter McKechnie over on the left side to Ellis. Ellis trying to work around Harper. Harper took it away from him. Penalty is over. The Wings are back at full strength. And a pass too far for Dale McCourt as Polonich had come back out after serving the minor penalty for Saint Laurent. And they would have been in 2-on-1, but the pass was not there. Now it's Turnbull. And Wilson, and now Anderson for Toronto into the Detroit zone. Here's Anderson with a shot. Vachon made a big save high off the chest. McKechnie dug the rebound out of the corner. Being checked by Dale McCourt. McCourt knocked it away from him, and Harper lost it off to the side of the net, but it's Miller who covered up. Terry Miller goes back after it a second time. Over on the right side to J.P. LeBlanc. He slid it out center ice. Now it's McCourt handing it back to LeBlanc into the Toronto zone. LeBlanc pulled up at the line, and he shot it back out center ice. As Miller came in, fired the shot, but he was way offside. So they'll bring it out over the Toronto blue line. Darryl Sittler with Pat Boutet and Dan Maloney now for the Leafs. And the Wings have Billy Hogebaum, Danny LeBreton, and J.P. LeBlanc. Larson and Hubert. Now it's Dave Hutchinson moving it out to center ice. Here's a right side pass broken up by Larson. Larson cutting in. Larson moved in for a shot and was blocked by Salming. And now Boutet heads right back for Toronto. Boutet just dumping it off to the side of the Detroit goal. Huber went in after it. Cleared it along the boards, but not out. It's picked up right out in front, and the shot by Sittler knocked away. Boutet holds it in. Played it off to the side of the goal. Maloney's pass out, blocked once. It came back to the line. Salming with a shot, and it went right through the goal mouth, and they score on the rebound. Sittler grabbed the rebound and fired it in, and it's 3-2 Toronto.
There was a case where Toronto just jumped on a loose puck before the Wings could. J.P. LeBlanc tried to make a play out in front of the blue line. Dan Maloney handled it behind the net, made a bad pass out that come right out the middle. Salming took a whack at it. Sittler, being a goal scorer from just about an impossible angle, turned around and wheeled it right along the ice. It went through Vachon's pads into the corner of the net. But it was a mistake, first of all, by the Wings. And Rogie Vachon couldn't get down to block the empty net soon enough to beat Sittler.
So Darryl Sittler, the Leaf captain, gets his 26th of the year. Salming and Maloney draw the assists on the goal. As the Leafs go into the lead, the time of the goal at 8:03. Now the play back into the Detroit zone as Reed Larson played it behind Nick Libet. It goes down the ice into the Toronto zone with Salming quickly back after it. Pat Boutet turns. His pass deflected away, but the Leafs Hutchinson has it. Now back into the Detroit zone, trying to go around Huber, couldn't do it. It's still loose in the Detroit end, though, with the Wings clear it out center ice. Salming shot it back in offside. They'll bring it back out over the Detroit blue line. So with the game 3-2, Toronto leading. We'll be back in a moment. 11 minutes and 7 seconds still to go in the second period. Tonight's game starting at 8 o'clock. Shortly after, 5 after 8, here in Detroit, rather than the usual nighttime starting time of 7:30. Leafs move it into the Detroit end offside, just barely really, as Sittler would have been cutting right in on top of Vachon. Detroit now with Greg Carroll at center ice. They have moved Perry Miller up to the left wing on the line. And Dennis Polonich on the right side. Miller is there because Saint Laurent remains in the penalty box. He and Quenneville serving the remaining portions of their 5-minute fighting penalties. Carroll goes in against Butler. Lanny McDonald hands it back now. Burrows cleared it to the Detroit line. Lanny McDonald got a stick on it there. Turnbull has it. Now Ian Turnbull back into the Detroit zone. He was checked by Tommy Bergman. Dennis Polonich's pass tipped out to the center ice zone. Lanny McDonald with it there. He put it right on the stick of Tommy Bergman at the Detroit blue line. Now Tommy over on the right side to Harper. Terry Harper's pass picked off center ice by Williams, and Dave Williams shoots it in behind the Detroit goal. Bergman went in after it. Left side pass, but it's taken away by Sittler. Here's a chance for Turnbull and Sittler, and the puck went over the top of the Detroit net. Dennis Polonich coming back. His pass hit Greg Carroll in the back. And the Leafs keep it in the Detroit zone. Playing it in behind the Detroit goal, Tommy Bergman turning out on the right side now. Here's Bergman bringing it out to center ice. Tommy Bergman just bounced it right to the goal. Paul Mateer handles that easily, and Borje Salming cleared it ahead just too far for Sittler. Reed Larson's pass, that's broken up by Williams. Davey Williams looking for Sittler, played it beyond him. It goes in behind the Detroit goal with Harper in after it. He took a pretty good bump along the boards from Lanny McDonald. Williams gets into it, and the puck is held long enough for a face-off to the left side of the Detroit goal.
And for the last 2.5 or 3 minutes, it appears as though the Wings have lost their zip. And it's been Toronto that are carrying the play. The Wings are backing in and letting Toronto bring the play to them.
Face-off will be in the circle to the left of the Detroit net, tended by Rogie Vachon. Toronto leads the game 3-2. We've just passed the halfway mark of the second period. Now here's Borje Salming from the line with a shot. Vachon the save, and it bounced away, and the Wings turn out with it. Coming out now, Dale McCord on the right side. Nedemansky failed to get loose. Play broken up center ice by Earl Thompson. He lifted it back into the Toronto zone. Salming, who seems to be on the ice all the time, goes in after it. He played it out to Jones, who was kept in at the line by Willie Huber. Huber played it beyond Dale McCourt. It's Hutchinson in behind his own net. Now Dave Hutchinson, he lost it to Harold Thompson. Thompson drove it into the corner again, and Salming in after it. Play deep in the Toronto zone, but Borje Salming starts out a long pass, just too far for Anderson. Goes the length of the ice. Vachon plays it into the corner for Nedemansky. Nedemansky had trouble with it, kicked it in behind the goal. Vaslov Nedemansky in behind his own net, turning away from the check of Jones. Now cleared it to Willie Huber. Huber was turned around. He dumped it ahead, but not out. Jones held it in. Anderson, he's checked by Huber, and now the Wings start out of their own zone. Here's Harold Thompson. Center ice. Thompson ahead to Nedemansky. Nedemansky fired from the blue line, shot it wide. Huber along the boards after the loose puck. Took a bump from Hutchinson, and the Leafs just play it out center ice. Knocked down there by Larson and picked up by Thompson. He turns it back at his own blue line. Handing it back now to Huber. Willie Huber's pass hit a player and bounced right up into the face of Errol Thompson, and he goes down on the ice. Puck actually took a crazy bounce off the Toronto player and caught Thompson under that protective mask. So Errol, being tended to by trainer Lefty Wilson, will head for the dressing room, and we pause right now for this message.
Just one of the oddities of hockey. Earl Thompson coming back after having a fractured jaw. The puck was just a little play by Huber that bounced off a player, come right up and struck Thompson in underneath the mask. He wears a big facial mask over, but it comes straight up from the stick under his mask, and he went right to the dressing room, so he must be cut.
Errol must be wondering. He's been hit on the bench, had his jaw broken when his own player fired the shot there, and he was on the Detroit bench, and now his own player, this time Willie Huber, fired the puck that ended up under his mask, and back to the dressing room he goes for first aid. Now the play is in behind the Toronto goal, and the Leafs in possession start out. Long pass, Perry Miller covered up at his own blue line, sent Danny LeBratton turning, center ice to J.P. LeBlanc. LeBlanc played it too far from Miller. Miller, though, did tip it away from Ellis, but it ended up in the crowd. Well, we have talked about Mr. Nedemansky. He has had himself a great few games in recent times. Matter of fact, over the last 10 games, coming into this one, Nedemansky with 9 goals and 5 assists. And he will be featured between the second and third periods of this hockey game here at Olympia. Detroit with Paul Woods, Nick Libet, and Danny Bolduc now. Jerry Butler has McDonald on, or Sittler has McDonald on one wing and Williams on the other. Terry Harper from center ice dumped it along the boards. It slides into the Toronto zone. In behind the goal, McDonald was checked there. That puck is in among skates. Bolduc got it loose, but the Leafs will bring it out. Here now moving with it is Burrows, Dave Burrows. He fired it into the corner in the Detroit zone. It bounced to the side of the Red Wing goal. Vachon hands it off to Nick Libet. Libet under a head of steam, but his pass was too far for Bolduc. Dave Burrows went back after it. Now the Leafs start back. McDonald passed to Sittler, going in with Williams. A shot wide of the Detroit goal. And Williams was turned around by the Red Wing player Bolduc. Harper picked it up. He starts Bolduc off to center ice. Libet coming down the left side. Bolduc over the line. Bolduc was checked right there. Williams cleared it out center ice. Bolduc picks it up, hands it off to Perry Miller. Miller's center ice pass to Libet on the left side. Paul Woods dumped it off the boards into the Toronto zone. And behind his own net now is Quenneville. Here's Quenneville coming out with it. Quenneville rolled it into the Detroit zone. Larson was tied up, couldn't handle it. A shot stopped to the side of the net by Rogie Vachon. And it's Reed Larson in behind his own goal. Now Larson's pass bounced off Carroll, came loose at center ice. Leafs shoot it back in, but the play is offside. And we shall be back after we pause now for this message. The Toronto Maple Leafs 3, the Detroit Red Wings 2. 6 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the second period. Teams are at full strength. One of the few times in the course of the game that the penalty box is completely empty of players. Greg Carroll will go in against Walter McKechnie. McKechnie won the draw. Now Quenneville brings it to the Detroit line. He was stopped there by Tommy Bergman. And it's taken away by Willie Huber. Huber played it out center ice. And Leroy back at his own blue line, hooked off the puck. And the play came back in offside. And the Wings are questioning the referee because the player was hooked right at the line. The puck went loose. And had it not been for an offside, he was in cold. Ron Ellis. Now Dan Maloney in against San Laurent. Covering up was Polonich. Still low. There's Maloney with a quick shot. And the save made by Vachon. The Wings shoot it out center ice. Boyer Salming has it. Salming handing it back now to McKechnie on the right side. Ron Ellis cutting in. Ellis shot it wide. Puck kept in at the line by Quenneville. His shot was blocked by Polonich and ended up in the crowd. And so we'll have the face-off in the circle off to the right of the Detroit goal.
And that's what I was talking about, playing positions. They just left this right side bare all the way into the zone, and the pass come across to Ellis. He had clear sailing in. His shot was wide, but then the Wings, in pursuing Ellis, all got pulled out of position when the play came back out to the point. Toronto had another excellent chance to possibly put the puck in the net, but the puck was deflected off Polonich and went up in the crowd.
3-2, Toronto leading Detroit. It was 1-1 into the first period. Toronto went ahead 2-1. The Wings got it back on the power play goal by Hogebaum, and now Sittler has put the Leafs out in front. Dale McCourt from center ice just flipped the puck off to the side of the Toronto goal. Butler played it in behind his own net. Errol Thompson is back on, evidently okay. The Leafs come back, though. Here's Butler down the boards on the left side. Under a head of steam, a backhand shot, and Vachon stopped that. Dale McCourt in behind his own goal. A left side pass for Thompson. Errol Thompson bringing it out center ice. Wound up for a long shot. Paul Matier kicked that away. Butler sent it over to the side, and Boutet dumps it down into the Detroit end as Perry Miller heads back after it. Miller's pass to Thompson. Thompson's return pass didn't get through to Dale McCourt, and the Leafs shoot it in behind the Detroit goal. Harper clearing it now to Nedemansky. Big Ned down the right wing. Netamansky over the line. He went by one man, dropped it for Errol Thompson, and he shot wide. Oh, what a chance Thompson had on the play by Netamansky. The shot went wide. They take the puck to the boards, hold it there. The face-off remains in the Toronto end.
And, you know, when Big Ned winds up like that and comes with a full head of steam, he can be just as colorful as any hockey player in the National Hockey League. He reminds you of Perot, when Perot used to wind up and go end to end.
I was going to say a little bit of Frank Mahovlich.
Yes, very much so. He's a beautiful skater. Can really pick him up and lay him down, and he just made a terrific play. Errol Thompson's shot, had it been on the net, I think it would have gone in, because Palmatier didn't expect him to shoot at all.
And so the face-off stays in the Toronto end to the right side of Mike Palmatier. Leafs win the draw. Quick pass up the ice. Here's Anderson heading after it into the Detroit zone. He wound up, didn't take the shot. Tommy Bergman and his man covered up. That was Lanny McDonald. So Paul Woods took the puck in behind the goal, kicked it loose to Reed Larson. Larson turned around by Sittler, and Larson just laid it into the corner. McDonald will play it for Toronto. It came to Anderson, covering up with Bolduc. Now Bolduc back down the ice for the Wings, over the line, into the Toronto zone. His pass knocked away from Nick Livett by Salming. Tommy Bergman held it in, but Sittler intercepts and starts back. Three-man rush for the Leafs. Darryl Sittler hauled down by Paul Woods, and the puck came back out center ice with Salming in control there. He's being bothered by Livett. He dumped it ahead, and Anderson shooting it in behind the Detroit goal. The Wings come back after it. Paul Woods into the corner now to Reed Larson. Larson heads out. Here's Larson under a head of steam, moving toward the Toronto line into the Leaf zone. He dropped it right there. Lanny McDonald poked it away from Tommy Bergman, but Bergman came back, covered up, got it a second time, and shot it out. Picking it up now is Larson. He's got Bolduc on the right side. Larson just flipped the shot. Palmatier knocked that away and it went in behind the Toronto goal. Leafs Anderson drops it off for Hutchinson. The big guy bringing it out center ice, lifting it high in the air. There will be an icing call as Perry Miller of Detroit goes back to touch it, and the play comes into the Toronto zone, and we'll be back with that face-off after we pause for this. Just about 5 minutes away from 10 o'clock here in the Detroit area, and the game still has 3:19 to go in the second period. The game that started at 8 o'clock, so it has been stretched out since.
And Bruce, I was just going to mention the fact that Netamansky's on. I taped the show with him, and we talked about the European rinks and about European hockey and, of course, the Russian series. And he made some very interesting comments about it.
He's an interesting young man. Now the Leafs win the face-off, have the play in their own zone. Ron Ellis dumped it in behind his goal for Turnbull. He and Turnbull, a good pass on the left side. It was tipped away from Tiger Williams, picked up by Billy Hogabaum, and he played it behind J.P. LeBlanc. A bouncing shot. Vachon came out of the net, handled it, and sent it off to the side of the goal. Perry Miller, his quick pass, too far for LeBreton. Ian Turnbull back at his own blue line, and Hogabaum intercepted his pass, but the play came back in offside with LeBreton ahead of him.
Toronto were trying a lot of long passes from deep in their zone, trying to flip it by the Detroit defense as they move up, and hoping that some of their forwards can outskate the wing defense, especially when they have Harper and Bergman out there. Both the defensemen are a little on the slow side, and they're trying to just outrace them to the puck.
2 minutes, 49 seconds to go in the second period. Now the play came out center ice. Monahan shot it in behind the Detroit net. Vachon came out to play it away from Williams. Wings lost it, though. LeBreton had trouble with it. It came back to the line, over the line, and Burroughs brought it in offside. Very close play at the Detroit blue line.
The old bugaboo to the Red Wings, in deep in their zone. They at times treat that puck as though it were a hot potato, and they just make little mistakes, and it costs them so dearly time and time again. They can play well for, say, 50 minutes of a game and look as though they're going to run a team right out of the rink. Then they come out and play bad for 5 minutes and lose the entire night's work.
Errol Thompson and Bill Hogabaum, the goal scorers for the Wings. Lanny McDonald, Gary Monahan, Darryl Sittler for Toronto. 3-2, the Leafs lead. Here's Boutet intercepting a pass, but his return pass broken up by Greg Carroll. Now Carroll from center ice took a shot that deflected away, and it was Palmatier who came out of the net, shot it all the way back out center ice. Stan Leroy had to wait for his team to come back onside. Now Perry Miller's pass too far for Carroll. They're going to call a nice. No, they didn't, because Paul Mateer came out and knocked the puck away. So it's Salming who lifted it out center ice again. Miller tipped it, and Dennis Polonich picked it up. Polonich hands it off to San Laurent at the Detroit blue line. Now Willie Huber. His pass went right to Quenneville of Toronto, and Quenneville sent it to Perry Miller of Detroit. San Laurent goes chasing after it, and they play whistle down offside as the Wings moved into the Toronto zone. And we have 1 minute and 44 seconds still to go in the second period.
I was going to say, for the first time tonight, hockey got a little ragged out in center ice where neither club appeared as though they wanted it. They just kept throwing it back to one another, and the play all in center ice. But other than that, it's been a tremendous hockey game.
Only one other game in the National Hockey League tonight, and that'll be later on out on the West Coast with the New York Islanders and the Los Angeles Kings at Los Angeles. Carroll comes right back now with Polonich and San Laurent. And the reason for this is that when the Wings sent on their Netamansky, McCord, and Thompson line, Toronto came back with a checking line of Jones and Butler and Williams. So Detroit moved back out with Carroll, San Laurent, and Polonich. Puck went into the Toronto end, going in after it. In behind his own goal is Dave Burrows. Burrows' pass coming out to Jones. He flipped it down center ice. Reed Larson has it there, back at his own blue line with Tommy Bergman. Tommy skates it all the way in behind his own goal. Now Bergman sends Reed Larson into the corner after it. Larson lifted it out to center ice, bouncing the puck high in the air. They scramble after it there. San Laurent dug it away, took it over the line. Being checked there by Burrows. He got it loose to Carroll. Carroll has Tommy Bergman open. And the pass deflected high off his stick. At center ice, Reed Larson took it away. He lost it, though, came right back to him. And again, Larson played it behind Polonich. Polonich was chasing after it, cleared it in behind the Toronto goal. There's 1 minute to go here in the second period. 3-2, Toronto leads. Now Tommy Bergman played it ahead to San Laurent. He's jammed in along the boards by Turnbull, and the face-off takes place right along the Toronto blue line.
Interesting game coming up, Bruce, on March the 2nd over in Windsor. The Montreal old-timers, Rocket Richard, Henri Richard, Moz Dell, and all the old-time Montreal Canadians are coming down to play the Red Wing old-timers March the 2nd in Windsor, and I understand that, well, no doubt it'll be a tremendous game. They have a lot of fun, but I recall they played in this building back a number of years ago and had 15,000 people in.
Just filled the building, and they didn't disappoint a soul. Now here's Sittler carrying into the Detroit zone. Trying to work around Perry Miller, and he put it right on the stick of Netamansky. Ned comes back with Errol Thompson. Thompson wound up from center ice. Paul Mateer drove his shot away. It bounced all the way back to the center ice zone. Willie Huber of the Wings clearing it back in. It caroms in behind the Toronto goal. Going after it is Hutchinson. 20 seconds to go in the period. 3-2, Toronto leads it. Now Dan Maloney at center ice. Play broken up by Huber, who slides it back into the Toronto end. Paul Mateer went in behind his own goal. He got mixed up there, and he now skates it all the way to the corner. Time will run out, though, as the puck bounced out center ice. McDonald after it, but the buzzer goes. And we have now played 2 periods of hockey with the Toronto Maple Leafs leading the Red Wings in a good one by a score of 3-2. The end of the second period will return to Olympia Stadium in just a moment. While they play the Scoro game down below us, that will be the crowd reaction you hear as we advise you to hurry to your nearest Super 6 Tire Center, where you can save on 4-ply Pauly Blackwall snow tires. Any size through H, 2 for $59. Hey, fans, stop in at any Parts Plus auto store. Fill out a coupon for a Fan Appreciation Award of 2 box seats at the March 20th Red Wings and Chicago Blackhawk game. On each televised game starting tonight, Parts Plus will present this Fan Appreciation Award during the Parts Plus post-game show.
The Michigan State Spartans are in the thick of the Big Ten basketball race, and they'll be meeting some top competition when they play Purdue this Thursday night at 8 on TV 50.
Well, Sid's guest tonight is Václav Netamansky, one of the Red Wing leaders in scoring and in power play goals. In the last 10 games, Ned has accounted for 9 goals and 5 assists. And Sid had an opportunity to talk to Ned recently after practice about his scoring spree and the recent Russian National Hockey League series.
Ned, you scored 11 goals in 63 games with the Wings last year. Here you have 25 goals in the first 55 games. just looks as though you're adjusting to the National League. Do you find it easier this year?
Yes, I think so. National League is a little bit different than WHA or international hockey. Closer checking and faster skating. Now I do feel pretty good. Last year I haven't played so much. We play on 4 lines. And I came to this club after first, I would say, 2 months, or 3 months, and after first 16 games, and I adjusted a little bit to our team. Now I feel pretty good, and I hope I will continue to score some goals.
All right, Ned, last year when you joined the club, you were a center iceman. This year, Bobby Crom has saw fit to play on the right side. Have you found any problem in adjusting between center ice and right wing?
I always playing center. I played for 16 years, and it was my first time. Actually, I play all the time on the right side. Sometimes I will find that it's a little bit easier for me because I can skate, I can find the holes, and I can take it volley shot from my forehand, which is better for me.
All right, now you had played European hockey and was the captain of the Czechoslovakian national team. We just had the Challenge Series where the Russians were here. Did you get a chance to see any of those games?
Yes, I saw this the worst game, this last one, 6-0. I know I was a little bit surprised, with this way how they won this last game. But don't forget they have been practicing for the last 15 years, 11 months every year, sometimes 3 times a day, which I think will really help them to play the hockey like we saw, lots of skating and good passing.
All right, over in Europe, everybody talks on the fact that your rinks are longer, they're wider, and the European player gets a chance to skate. There's not as much body contact. Yet the Russians come over here and played the National League game and won the series. Do you find a difference in the rinks?
Yeah, yes. It was different. First time when I came over, if I try to turn, I sometimes hit the board because it's really 10 feet wider over there in Europe. And Russians, they haven't played so many games over here, and even the last 3 weeks have been practicing in Holland. And I think it fits their style because they are strong and they can skate.
Now, body contact. The Russians seem to take all the body contact. When you played back home in Czechoslovakia, was there body contact in your game?
I would say our defensemen, they play really better with body. Those guys, they just try to push or they try to keep puck in front of them. And because they are so fast, sometimes it is enough,
Right.
Don't get caught and just forecheck this player with puck.
All right, now let's just talk one question about the Wings. You have 25 goals. Did you set a goal for yourself before the season started as to what the Wings would do?
No, not really, no. But I will be happy if I will score something between 40 and 50 goals because I feel I can do it.
And I'm sure they're looking. Ned, thanks ever so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Now let's go back to Bruce Martin.
Václav Nedomansky, a very interesting young man and quite a hockey player. The score here after 2 periods, Toronto 3, Detroit 2. We'll return to Olympia Stadium in just a moment. And so we say hello again from Olympia Stadium here in Detroit. Bruce Martin along with Sid Abel, the game 3-2. Toronto Maple Leafs leading after 2 periods of play. Sid, I would say it was a very evenly played hockey game up until the time that Darryl Sittler jumped in that rebound, fired it in, gave Toronto a 3-2 lead. And from that point on, it seemed that Toronto, the one that definitely carried the play.
We were saying at the end of the first period, Bruce, that the Wings would have to continue playing the way they did in the first period. They stopped. They stopped skating. They let Toronto start to carry the play to them. They backed into their own zone, and they were in trouble, and Rogie Vachon made several big saves. Palmateer wasn't really tested that period to speak at all. No comparison to the way he was tested in the first period. But the Wings may get a fresh lease on life now with only 20 minutes to go and come out and start carrying it to the Leafs.
In the second period, Toronto outshot Detroit 10-6. That would make the overall shots and goals. Toronto 21, the Red Wings 19. Sid, you mentioned, I know, midway in our play-by-play of that second period, the fact that a good bunch of buddies of yours and of mine who get a great kick out of playing hockey, and they don't do it for big paychecks, I'll tell you, will be doing just that, playing hockey in Windsor very soon.
Well, you know, the Red Wing old-timers, Bruce, are a very active group here in Detroit. And this is, I think, the highlight of their season, to play Montreal old-timers. The fact that the players like Doug Harvey and the Richards, both Henri and the Rockets, Red Story's coming into referee, and he was one of the most colorful referees. And I understand Ted Lindsay's going to play, and, of course, Bill Gadsby, Jimmy Peters, and just a tremendous bunch of fellows here. And I would believe this club, the Red Wing old-timer, would be a pretty tough hockey club to beat. They play probably 15 or 20 games a season. It's all for charity. And I'm just going to run through. They have several games here in March. March the 2nd over in Windsor, they play Montreal, and that's their big game. March the 9th, they're up at Saginaw, Michigan, and they go up there each year, and they just fill that Saginaw building. They play there on the 9th of March. March the 17th, they're over in Strathroy, Ontario, playing a senior club over there. March the 24th, they play the University of Michigan Dearborn, and they close out their season on March the 31st at Alpena, Michigan. And I understand Alpena is just waiting for them. They are going to take their wives with them and spend a weekend up there. And I'm looking at our schedule because I would like to go up with them.
Well, it's a fun place to be, and it's a great thing to watch, because I don't think I've enjoyed hockey any more than I have watching the old-timers. And you mentioned it earlier. I think, again, you hit it right on the head when you said that they have a heck of a good time playing the game. But by the same token, they play it with a great deal of seriousness.
You know, Bruce, they play hockey the way hockey, I think, should be played, with a lot of finesse. They skate into the holes. They pass the puck. They have a rule they're not allowed to slap the puck, and I think that's good, too, because today's hockey, the kids are all winding up over their heads trying to slap the puck. The old-timers play with an awful lot of finesse. They get into the hole, they pass it, and they pass the puck, say, on a rush coming down. When you think of Joe Carveth, that I hate to mention his age, but I know he's got to be up in the neighborhood of 60. He comes down and he makes 3 or 4 passes. Jimmy Peters in the corners, Joe Cloutier, and really, it's so nice to watch. I come down and watch them practice. I'm not playing anymore, but I come down and watch them practice, and I get a bigger kick out of watching them play than possibly even the Red Wings at times.
You know, and you talk about some of the, and they don't mind us calling them old-timers. That's what they call themselves. My thoughts go back to a fellow who you played under and worked alongside for a while. I speak of Jack Adams. And then what made me think of it is talking to another old friend, Johnny Mowers, the other day, who explained the fact that watching every single game that's on television, listening to every single Red Wing game that's on radio, and just as interested in the Detroit Red Wings today as she was when her husband was coaching and general manager of this team, is one of the finest ladies that's ever been my privilege to know, and I speak of Mrs. Helen Adams. Jack's widow. What a great person she is, and what a hockey fan.
Well, listen, she's had a lot of schooling to be a hockey fan, and she's still a tremendous Red Wing fan. And she enjoys following the old-timers, too, by the way. She comes out and watches a lot of their games. And I know she lets come down here, watch the Red Wings play. Now, we just hope that the Red Wings can straighten out, and now with 24 games to go in the season, can make it really an enjoyable last part of the season.
Well, we'll see what they do the last part of this hockey game. We've played 2 periods. The game is 3-2. Toronto Maple Leafs lead it. We'll be back with the third period face-off in just a moment. Super 6 Tire Centers brings you moments to remember. What current member of the Detroit Red Wings holds the National Hockey League record that he set in his rookie season? Well, the answer is Dennis Polonich. He drew 302 minutes in penalties over the 1975-76 schedule, the highest figure ever recorded by a right winger over one season in NHL history.
Jack Lemmon swims up from the bottom of a bottle, but Lee Remick's drowning in booze in Days of Wine and Roses, tomorrow's 8 o'clock movie on TV 50.
So the Detroit Red Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs will be coming out in just a moment or two to get the third period underway. And I'm telling you, nobody has left this one. The Red Wings, who twice have come from behind to tie the hockey game. Lanny McDonald scored at 11:34 the first period, and the Wings a couple minutes later, 13:51, Errol Thompson with each team short a man at the time. McDonald's goal came with Terry Harper just stepping back out onto the ice after having served a 5-minute penalty. And it ended 1-1 the first period. In the second period, the Red Wings picked up a power play chance when Quenneville went into the penalty box at 1:24. Gary Monahan scored a shorthanded goal to make it 2-1. The Wings got it back on the power play effort by Bill Hogebaum. His first goal as a Detroit Red Wing. He had scored one earlier with Minnesota this season. So it was now 2-2. And then Sittler, with his 26th of the year, a rebound after Vachon had made the stop and Salming at 8:03. That gave Toronto the go-ahead goal as the Leafs outshot Detroit 10-6 in that second period. Toronto out onto the ice now. The Red Wings have yet to make their appearance to get the third period going.
Bruce, before the start of this third period, I think it's appropriate that we wish happy birthday to Bruce Norris. This is his birth date, and I would think Bruce is probably here for this hockey game. And the little girl that works in the Red Wing office, Kim Squires, is also having a birthday today. And Greg Maxey, Todd and DJ wanted us. We'll get that out of the way.
Very good. Toronto Maple Leafs will be defending the goal off to our right. And it's Mike Palmatier in the nets for Toronto. Rogie Vachon, who made the start for Detroit. In this hockey game, he'll be defending the goal off to our left. Jimmy Rutherford played against the Pittsburgh Penguins yesterday afternoon, played very effectively, was picked as one of the stars of the hockey game. And there was a great deal of conversation as to the fact that he would probably gain the starting role in the game tonight. But when the two teams came out to take their positions, it was Vachon who moved into the Detroit net. And he has played well, Sid. I guess he could be faulted a bit for the Monahan goal, but he made his move, and that puck just sort of slid off the stick of Monahan and by him.
Bruce, I think when he went to go down on his side with his stick out to intercept anything going across the front of the goal mouth, he fell on his elbow, and he didn't get his arms completely down parallel with the ice, and the puck just took one of those unbelievable rolls and rolled in under his arm right into the net. Those things happened, but he did make several key saves. There's Mike Palmatier. He is kind of an outgoing young man, very, very talkative, moves around, smart alecky maybe in a way, but does play an awful lot of goal for them too.
Well, the importance of the game to Toronto, they and Buffalo tied for second place in the Adams division with 57 points apiece coming into this hockey game, and the third period underway, and immediately the Leafs clear it into the Detroit end offside.
And we were talking about Mr. Monahan. They've given Monahan, Palmatier, I should say, an assist on Monahan's goal. And Errol Thompson received 2 stitches under his left eye when that puck come up under his mask. Thank goodness it didn't hit him in the jaw again, because he's just returning from a broken jaw.
Now it's Dale McCord at center with Netamansky and Errol Thompson for the wings. Jones has Boutet on one wing and Butler on the other. McCord waved out of the face-off circle. Netamansky came in, but Jones won the draw. Laurier Salming back in his own zone, hands it off to Hutchinson. Dave Hutchinson clearing it ahead, and here's Butler picking it up over the line. Jerry Butler turning it in toward the corner. He was checked there by Tommy Bergman, and Netamansky starts McCord out. Dale McCord lifted into the corner in the Toronto end, and Palmatier came out of the goal. He shot it to the line. Tommy Bergman took a whack at it there, but missed it. Now here's Jones moving back in. He played it back out center ice, and the Leafs have to hold it there while the forwards come back out. It's played into the Detroit end behind the Red Wing goal. Vachon cleared it on the left wing. Errol Thompson couldn't work it out. Pass is intercepted by McCourt. Netamansky goes over to the opposite wing. Here's Netamansky moving into the Toronto zone, but he was checked right there, and Boutet picks up the loose puck. Now it's Salming dropping it out center ice. Terry Harper flipped it away. It came to Carroll and back to Harper at the Detroit line. Tommy Bergman. Now Tommy Bergman clearing it into the corner in behind the Toronto goal. Greg Carroll had possession there. Salming takes him in along the boards. Polonich gets into it. They hold it for a face-off to the right of the Toronto goal.
And for the Wings to get back in this game, they're going to have to try and force Toronto and play in their zone a little more than they did in the second period. It's been a real good up-and-down hockey player, not quite as rough since the first period, but there's still plenty of bumping.
At 4 minutes and 38 seconds of the second period, we had a total of 20 penalties in the hockey game. We haven't had any since that time. So it cooled off considerably. Now the puck stayed out in front of the Toronto goal, but it's Turnbull who takes it out of danger, swings it ahead to Lanny McDonald. He tips it into the Detroit zone. Rogie Vachon cleared it into the corner. Darryl Sittler. He played it out in front. Here's Williams with a chance. The puck knocked away, and it went just off to the side of the open corner of the Detroit goal. And now a chance for Lanny McDonald, and coming back, Polonich knocked it off his stick. And the Wings will move out with San Laurent. Andre San Laurent over the line, trying to go around Turnbull. He took the shot, Palmatier the save, and Carroll stand on the rebound. The net wide open, and Carroll was there, but the puck bounced over his stick. Sittler lost it going into the Detroit zone. The Wings failed to clear it out. Here's McDonald with a shot. Fast on the save. And the puck picked up by San Laurent as the Leafs came close. Now Dennis Polonich with Larson trailing. Polonich drops it for Larson. He fired the shot, and Turnbull got a stick on that. And it ended up high in the crowd behind the Toronto goal. And we'll be back in just a moment. The Wings now beginning to apply a little pressure. They trail by 1, 3-2 Toronto, early moments of the third period. At Olympia Stadium here in Detroit, Paul Woods with Bolduc and Livet on the wings, and Tommy Bergman and Willie Huber back along the defense. Walter McKechnie moves in to face Woods. He has Maloney on one wing and Ellis on the other. McKechnie won the draw. Salming hands it off now to Quenneville. Joe Quenneville in behind his own goal. Starts McKechnie out, right back to Quenneville. He lost it, kept it at the line by Huber, but he was checked. Bolduc had a skate on it at center ice. Laid it off Paul Woods. He goes back into his own zone after it. Now Woods dropped it off for Tommy Bergman. The Wings bring it out to center ice. Tommy Bergman slapping it along the boards. It caroms in behind the Toronto goal. Palmatier came out of the net to clear it to Dan Maloney. Turned around by Paul Woods. Maloney still having trouble with it. Now he gets it ahead to McKechnie. Walter McKechnie, a long shot along the ice. Vachon handled that. Played it away from Ellis. The Wings bounced it along the boards, and it came out center ice. McKechnie quickly back after it. Put it right on the stick of Livet. Here's Nick Livet back into the Toronto zone with Bolduc. Bolduc put it right to the goal mouth. Livet was turned around, couldn't get to it as Palmatier knocked it away. Ron Ellis coming back now for Toronto. Ellis over on the right side, digging after it is Boyer Salming. Tommy Bergman got there first, and now coming out is Dale McCourt. McCourt on the move, over the line, into the Toronto zone to Bolduc, and the pass was just tipped away by Quenneville. Back out center ice, Reed Larson. Larson lifted it back into the Toronto end. The Leafs will bring it right back out. Pat Boutet. Now Boutet winding up, heading over the line into the Detroit zone. He was checked by McCourt, and Thompson starts back. Errol Thompson from the line with a shot that went off Salming. And Butler steers it ahead. Boutet picked it up. He was turned around by Larson and Perry Miller. Hands it off now to Errol Thompson at center ice. Thompson shooting it back into the Toronto zone. Going back after it, Gary Monahan. He left it in behind the goal. The Wings trying to play it out. Nedemansky took a bump, and it's Turnbull. He didn't get it out. McCourt sent it back to Miller with a shot, and that went way wide. Puck kept in at the line by Larson. He fired it in behind the Toronto goal. They scrambled it along the board. Thompson made the play that held it in. Here's a quick shot by Nedemansky. He hits the home goal post right across the goal line. Now here's Boutet coming back. A drop pass for Monahan. He scores! Oh, you come of an inch of tying it up, and now you're 2 goals behind.
Never fails. Nedemansky's shot hit the right post, come directly across the line, hit the left post, and come out. And the ensuing rush come right down, and from back about 40 feet, the puck hit both posts behind Palmatier. They come right down, take a little pass to Monahan. He shoots from good 45 feet. It was a screen shot. Rogie Pichon got a little piece of it, but not enough to stop it from going in the net. And that's the breaks of hockey.
And that seems to be the way this season has gone. Monahan, who had scored only 1 goal all season long, now has 2 more. Here's San Laurent moving in with Carroll. San Laurent hit the goal post. San Laurent dug it out, sent it back to Huber with a shot. That went way wide. They dig in behind the goal. It's held there. The face-off will stay in the Toronto end, and now a scramble of players in behind the Maple Leaf goal. That's Greg Carroll in the middle of it all. And the 2 linesmen move in very quickly to see if they can cool the tempers off. Now San Laurent hit the outside of the post that time.
He was going to make the play across to Carroll, but he elected to shoot instead.
So we'll be back in just a moment. Toronto Maple Leafs lead now 4-2 on the goal by Monahan at 4 minutes and 34 seconds of this period. The referee is not allowing a last-second player change. And Salming and he have words as Salming heads back to the Toronto bench, and Turnbull comes back out to join Quenneville along the Toronto defense. Nedemansky, who hit both goal posts on the one shot, and Monahan 10 seconds later scored. Shot by Tommy Bergman, knocked down out in front, and coming right back now is Toronto. Williams is turned around by Dennis Polonich. The Leafs pick it up at center ice again. Clearing it over on the right side. Darryl Sittler goes skating after it. Handing it back now to Quenneville. He dumped it into the Detroit zone. Tommy Bergman, first man in. He fell down behind his own goal. Cleared it along the boards to Polonich. Polonich and Sittler battle there for it. It came back toward the line. And it's held now to the boards. And now Polonich, and it's Williams, actually Tiger Williams, who are doing the pushing. And they are at close quarters now. Williams trying to get a right hand loose. So is Polonich. But both of them wear the helmets. Now Williams got the left hand loose a bit, but he was landing along the side of Polonich's helmet. No damage done by either of the two. But here we go again. I should have known it would not be Sittler. Instead it would be Williams with Polonich and he, because they are two of a kind.
And this is the first time Dennis Polonich has been in any kind of a scrape tonight, which is kind of a surprise. He leads the league, leads the Wings in penalties, and he's with, I guess, the league leader in Williams.
And so the two of them will head in now, Williams and Polonich, and we shall be back with more of the action in just a moment. So Williams of Toronto, Polonich of Detroit draw 5 minutes aside for fighting. We've had a lot of those tonight. The offsetting penalties means that both teams will remain at full strength. Detroit with Paul Woods moving out with Bolduc and Libet now. Detroit down by 2. A lot of time remaining. If the break starts to turn around a little bit right now, it's Tommy Bergman back along the defense with Willie Huber. Darryl Sittler comes out to center Anderson on the left side and Lanny McDonald on the right wing for Toronto. Puck came back to the line. Quenneville hands it off to Salming right out in front. Shot right on, and Vachon stopped it and then lost it, and it went into the net. Vachon seemingly had made the save and then just lost control of it, and it slid into the goal, so Toronto leads it 5-2.
I didn't see just what happened. I have an idea that he possibly put this puck in the net himself. They lost the face-off. The shot was a pass across, deflected to Vachon. It's not in the net yet. There it goes.
I think he had it and then lost it. So now it's 5-2. Paul Woods with a shot, blocked by Borje Salming. Woods went battling into the corner after it, sent it to the side of the net, and it's grabbed there. And Bolduc and Salming do a little shoving. And again, a grouping of players deep in the Toronto zone.
And I think
the Toronto goal.
Salming is hurt a little bit on the shot of Paul Woods. He's going over to the bench. What was a tremendous hockey game is broken wide open now, 5-2. Toronto, I don't think, have had that much of the play to be worthy of a 5-2 lead, but they have put some pressure on the Wings, and they've capitalized on every opportunity that they've had.
Sittler getting his second goal of the hockey game, his 27th of the season. Woods sent the puck back toward the blue line, but the Wings had to go right between the 2-point men, had to hustle back after it. Now Bolduc to Paul Woods. Woods got it over the line. The Leafs break it up, and here's Maloney coming back. Dan Maloney played it into the Detroit zone. Nick Libet went digging in after it. Played it in behind his own goal, and Tommy Bergman has it there. Now Tommy hands it off to Huber. Willie Huber coming out center ice with it. Here's Huber winding up with a long shot. Paul Mateer stops that. Played it off to the side of the net. Paul Woods went fighting in after it, but the Leafs will bring it out. At center ice, Reed Larson knocked it away. He fell down. Dan Maloney overskated it. Larson takes a shot from center ice, and Paul Mateer kicks that out. Now Ron Ellis. He played it on the right side for Turnbull. Ian Turnbull into the Detroit zone with a shot that went high and wide. Maloney held it in, took a bump from Harper. They jam in along the boards, and the puck is held for a face-off to the right side of the Detroit goal. Maloney and Harper at close quarters again. They mixed it up pretty well in the first period.
Tempers are still flaring, even though the score is 5-2. This could break out again. There's no love lost between these two teams, even though this is the Toronto's first occasion to come to Detroit. Dan Maloney's got a few marks on his nose from, no doubt, the original Harper-Maloney deal, and it had to be a high stick because Harper wound up getting a 5-minute penalty along with 2 minutes.
Face-off stays in the circle to the right of Vachon. Teams are at full strength. A quick shot by Boutet, and Vachon cleared it to the corner. Harper goes in with Jones this time. They hold it. The face-off remains still deep in the Detroit end to the right of Rogie Vachon. Sittler got the goal, but so far as times and assists are concerned, I couldn't pick them off the public address system here.
I'll try and get them for you, Bruce. I was just going to say, this face-off, I can recall on 3 occasions.
Boutet another shot, and that's deflected high off the glass. Now it's Reed Larson. His pass came back to Errol Thompson. He was turned around, goes back after it. Clears it off now. Harper swings it out center ice. Toronto got a stick on it there. Dave Hutchinson shoots it right back in. Nedomansky turning in behind his own goal. Nedomansky being watched closely by Jones. Fired a long pass on the right side to Dale McCord, ahead to Harper, and that's broken up. Now it'll be Reed Larson back in the Detroit end, and now the Wings having trouble getting anything going. Here's Terry Harper. Puck jumped over the stick of Errol Thompson, sent back out center ice. Reed Larson just fired it along the boards, right back in, and going in after it is Salming. Boreas Salming in behind his own goal. Now Salming cleared it over on the left side. Hutchinson dumped it out towards center ice, knocked away there by McCourt. Dale McCourt, he lost it to Boutet. Pat Boutet back into the Detroit zone. Larson slowed him up. Here's Boutet pulling up along the boards. He shot it in behind the Detroit net. Going in after it, Reed Larson. Now the Wings start out of their own zone. They trail by 3. A lot of time left. Puck driven into the Toronto end. Butler goes digging, being chased by Nedomansky. Nedomansky knocked it away from him, but covering up was Jones. And the Leafs will take it deep in their own end with Salming clearing in behind his own goal. Now Salming starts Hutchinson out. Big Dave Hutchinson on the left side to Boutet. Pat Boutet. It was wrapped to the Detroit blue line. Hogaban had it tangled up in his skates. Here's Sittler. He overskated it. McDonald picks it up. Back to Sittler. Sittler shot it out in front of the Detroit net. J.P. LeBlanc went after it. Lost it out in front. A shot by Sittler. It hit the goalpost on the rebound. Oh, it was wrapped right off the post by Sittler on the rebound. And it was very close to 6. Now Reed Larson trying to get loose. Dumped it into the Toronto zone. Goes digging in with Anderson, but the Leafs take over. Coming back out center ice, Willie Huber. Huber shoots it back in. It goes into the corner with Turnbull in after it. Billy Hogabaum chasing him. They're still playing at the game. Here's LeBreton. Danny LeBreton setting up Larson, and his shot knocked down before it got through. LeBreton took it to the corner. He's dumped there by Turnbull. Puck held in at the line by Larson, then knocked away. Here's a chance for Lanny McDonald. Lanny McDonald with a shot. He scores! He just beat Vachon cleanly that time with nobody out in front of him. And so now it is a 6-2 hockey game, and the Leafs have opened it up.
And Danny LeBreton is getting a penalty, too. This fella can score goals. He just picked the inside of the post. Vachon come out and covered as much of the net as he could. But he was beaten on a shot that was just letter perfect, just inside the post, right along the ice. Maybe 4 or 5 inches off the ice. Beautiful shot, a beautiful goal by Lanny McDonald.
And so here in the third period, the Leafs have opened it up. McDonald gets his second goal. Monahan has 2, and Sittler has 2.
And Danny LeBreton received a penalty on this play. I don't know what for.
9 minutes, 36 seconds, the time of the goal, scored by Lanny McDonald. Sittler. got the assist, and LeBratton got the penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yes, he must have had something to say. He got dumped down in the Toronto zone, and I believe he argued that there should have been a penalty on the call. That's how the breakaway came, where McDonald got the play up along the right wing and just cut in and shot, scored the goal.
So they not only get a goal, but they also get a power play, do the Toronto Maple Leafs. Plays back into the Toronto zone. The Leafs with the extra man start out. Wilson dumped it over on the right side for Walter McKechnie into the Detroit zone. It comes back to Wilson at the line. Off the circle now to McKechnie. He handed it off to Maloney, and Harper broke up his pass. Two of them go in along the boards. They still are doing some shoving. They hold the puck to the boards. McKechnie, Harper, and now Maloney gets that elbow up in Harper's face after the whistle. And the two linesmen move in there very quickly. So McDonald has two, his 24th and 25th of the season. Sittler has two, his 26th and 27th. Gary Monahan has two, his second and third. And it's Toronto leading 6-2 after what had been a heck of a hockey game until midway in the second period. Face off to the left of the Detroit goal. Puck came back toward the line for Wilson. Wilson dumped it off the circle to McKechnie. He drilled a shot. Vachon stopped it. Tommy Bergman took a swing at it, and Dale McCourt finishes it up and clears it the length of the ice with 1:10 remaining in LeBratton's penalty. We have 9.5 minutes to go here in the third period. Now the Leafs start out. Here's Ron Ellis coming out center ice. Firing it in behind the Detroit net. Vachon stopped it there. Rogie Vachon stick-handled with it, cleared it along the boards, but not out. Wilson kept it in. It bounced back toward the blue line for Turnbull. Ian Turnbull didn't take the shot, cleared it in behind the Detroit goal. It got by Maloney into the corner. McKechnie back on the point now to Wilson. His pass was knocked away. McKechnie still controlled it. Wilson held it in at the line, and taken away by Dale McCourt. McCourt skated it out center ice, took a long shot that Paul Matier handles easily and sends off to Turnbull. Turnbull's pass broken up by Paul Woods. It came back to Wilson back inside the Toronto line. 15 seconds left in the Detroit penalty. Wilson moving out center ice, turned with it. Turned away from Woods' check, and now cleared along one on the right side to Lanny McDonald. To Sittler, a backhand shot, and Vachon knocked it away. Now dug out from behind the net by Sittler. He played it back to McDonald. Lanny McDonald with a shot, and Vachon blocked that. Penalty's over. Here's LeBratton chasing after a loose puck. Woods coming up with him, 2-on-1. LeBratton took the shot and fired it way wide. San Laurent tried to hold it in, then stepped on the puck and lost his balance. It was cleared over two lines offside to Lanny McDonald. So it's 6-2 Toronto, and we'll be back in just a moment. So the face-off will be just inside the blue line in the Toronto zone. Greg Carroll with Polonich and San Laurent. Jones, Carroll will wave down to the face-off circle, so it'll be Butler coming in to face San Laurent. Leafs win the draw. Burrows fed it off to Dave Hutchinson. Hutchinson slid it out toward the blue line, and here's Jones of Toronto picking it up. He played it beyond Boutet. It's taken now by Reed Larson. He starts Perry Miller out. San Laurent coming down the left side. Dropped it back for Miller with a shot. That went wide. Dennis Polonich took a bump along the boards from Boutet. Carroll handled the puck back to the line for Larson. Larson flipped the shot, and Paul Matier knocked that away. Coming back out now, Boutet. Here's Pat Boutet over the line into the Detroit zone. Boutet dropped it right there. Hutchinson moving in deeper. Hutchinson played it off the side of the net. Boutet tried to center it. That was knocked away by Vachon. And the Wings having trouble moving it out. It does come now to center ice. Played back into the Detroit end. Reed Larson turns with it. Now he hands it off to San Laurent. Andre San Laurent moving into the Toronto zone. San Laurent was tripped. There'll be a penalty coming up to Toronto. On the play, Carroll tried to put it out in front. He was checked, and as Toronto gains possession, the penalty will be called, and now Detroit, trailing by 4, will have the extra man.
Can I offer you a Coke, sir?
No.
7 Ups?
So it's Sittler and McDonald who have broken this game open here in the third period. Sittler scored from McDonald and Solming at 5:34, and then McDonald from Sittler at 9:36. And it's 6-2. The Wings now have the extra man. The play is deep in the Toronto zone. San Laurent won the face-off. Reed Larson holds it at the right point. Over on the left side now to Perry Miller with a shot. That deflected right to the net. Paul Mateer moved way out of the goal to drive it away, handing it off to Gary Monahan. Center ice to Jones. He took a long shot. Vachon grabbed that and gets a rather sarcastic roar from the crowd. Now moving out with it, Perry Miller. His pass tipped off to center ice, picked up by Polonich. Polonich fired it in behind the goal. San Laurent digging along the boards, kicked it to Carroll. Back to San Laurent, back along the line to Perry Miller. The right point to Reed Larson, and his shot went off Gary Monahan way up into the crowd, up in the third deck, if you will.
You have to give Toronto credit for killing their penalties. They don't give the wing point men a chance to get set out there at all. The forwards get right out, make a move with it, and when the shots are put on the net, it just seems that everything hits defensemen that are out in front of Palmateer. Palmateer, the shots don't appear to be getting through to him at all.
Game was tied at 1-1 into the first period. It was 3-2 Toronto into the second, but the Leafs have scored 3 times here in the third period. And the third period has not been a good one for Detroit through the season. The Leafs lift the puck all the way down the ice. Going back after it, Tommy Bergman. Bergman swinging in behind his own goal. Played it into the corner now for Harold Thompson. Back of the Detroit net, it goes to Tommy Bergman. He leaves it for Dale McCourt. They're still deep in the Detroit end. Now Huber comes out. Huber out on the right wing, shooting it into the Toronto zone. It was knocked down by Hutchinson with a stick raised high, so they'll keep the face-off in the Toronto end. Instead, I was figuring it out today, coming into this hockey game, the Red Wings have been outscored throughout the season, home and away in the third period, 74-53. So including these 3 here tonight, that's 77 goals against them to 53-4 in that third period, which is, of course, perhaps the most important of all, has been deadly.
And in a lot of cases, Bruce, the last 5 minutes of the third period has been their death knell, where they have given up 2 and 3. On one occasion, I think, with Pittsburgh in here, Pittsburgh scored 4 goals in the third period, and 2 or 3 of them in the last few minutes.
Now the Wings still have the extra man for 45 seconds, but the Leafs win the face-off and again shoot at the length of the ice. 6-2, Toronto leads. 5:45 to play in this, the third period. Tommy Bergman swings it away to Nedomansky. Nedomansky's pass broken up right at the line. He goes after it, picks it up a second time. Into the Toronto zone. He dropped it off for Dale McCourt. Back on the line to Tommy Bergman with a shot. Palmateer the save, and McCourt was robbed by Palmateer. McCourt came in, had the rebound, wide open out in front, and Palmateer was down on the ice. Stopped McCourt.
And that's the first big save that Palmateer's had to come up with here in the power play, here in the third period, really. The first shot went through. Palmateer comes well out of his net, covers it. It bounces right away from him, but he regains his feet, then goes down on his hands and knees and blocked McCourt's rebound attempt.
22 seconds left in the power play. The face-off in the circle to the right of the Toronto goal. McCourt in against Jones. Jones won the draw, and it goes in behind the Toronto net. Turnbull was tied up by Errol Thompson. Here's Dale McCourt. He's spun around by Quenneville, and Toronto picks it up and shoots it down the ice. Vachon drops it off behind his own goal for Willie Huber. Now Huber starts out on the left side. Here's Huber bringing it back out center ice. Huber moved over to the right side now and fired it into the corner, and going in after it, Butler of Toronto. Gary Butler trying to pull away from Nedomansky, did just that, and he shoots it back out center ice, and the Wings have to come back after it. The penalty's over. Toronto's at full strength. Now here's Quenneville dropping it into the Detroit end. Tommy Bergman just shot it back out center ice. Dan Maloney flipped the shot off to the side of the Detroit goal. Tommy Bergman goes after it, hands it now to Huber. Back to Bergman in behind the Detroit net. He shot it away from everybody, so Turnbull will take it at center ice. Now Turnbull to Maloney. Dan Maloney dropped it off for Sittler, but the play was offside. They'll come back out over the Detroit blue line.
And the Wings are frustrated now. Probably the bumping and whatnot. Toronto have not stopped skating, and the Wings have.
Again, we repeat, the Red Wings will be in Washington next Wednesday to meet old friend Dennis Hextall and the Washington Capitals, but there will be no broadcast or telecast of that game Wednesday from Washington. So that means our next game will be coming to you from New York, Nassau Coliseum against the Islanders next Saturday afternoon at 1:15, and our next radio broadcast on WDEE in the Detroit area and along the rest of the Detroit Red Wing Hockey Network with Colorado here at Detroit's Olympia next Sunday evening. Now Reed Larson is at his own blue line. Teams are at full strength, 4:20 to go here in the third period. Puck driven back into the Toronto zone. Boutet went in after it. Pat Boutet checked in the corner by Hogebaum, but picking up the loose puck, Quenneville, and he shoots it down the ice. Coming back with it is Harper. Terry Harper left it along the boards. Billy Hogebaum put it out in front. It's knocked away. LeBratton was right there and just couldn't get the stick on it. Puck was kept in by LeBratton at the blue line, handing it off to LeBlanc. Back to LeBratton. He lost it. And the play is inside the blue line in the Toronto zone as LeBlanc and Quenneville threatened to do a little damage. Boutet made a run at the Red Wing player Harper, and he's trying to get a penalty. And now it's J.P. LeBlanc who goes after Boutet, and Reed Larson gets into it. As they're jamming in along the boards, Boutet made the run at Harper, and then J.P. LeBlanc went after him, and Reed Larson moved in very quickly.
And surprising, Maloney has not got a hold of Harper. It's someone else that's with Harper. I can't see.
That's Quenneville.
Quenneville and Harper.
Now, Harper looks like he wants to go after him. I'm sorry, Maloney does.
Looks
Maloney
like there's a little hair pulling here, too.
And Maloney gave Harper a jam on the back of the head. Not even close to him, and now it's Reed Larson moving in, holding off Maloney. Boutet and Harper, J.P. LeBlanc was the one that pulled Boutet off. Maloney's just trying to get to Harper, and he's quite some distance removed from him. So they have a jam up of players. Maloney is the one I think is still trying to get at Harper, but Harper, he's in a bit of a wrestling match along the boards. Now Reed Larson, along with the linesman, pulled Maloney to the ice. And he gets up again. He has only one thing in mind. He's trying to get to Harper, and if he does, Harper has his back to him. And he's in an arm lock with Quenneville over along the boards.
And I know Dan Maloney is tough. When he was wrestling with Reed Larson, I don't know if he wanted too much of that.
Well, he took a jab at the back of Harper's head while Harper was in an arm lock with Quenneville. Maloney has been sent to the Toronto dressing room. Terry Harper with a welt along the...
He had that earlier, Bruce.
He's going to go to the Detroit dressing room. Additional penalties handed out here. Toronto opening up the big lead here in the third period. So they'll be picking up sticks and gloves and handing out penalties, and we'll be back with more after we pause now for this message.
My Jeep pickup challenges you guys to take that hill. Easy.
Pat Boutet has moved into the penalty box for Toronto Maple Leafs, and both Terry Harper and Dan Maloney have gone into their respective dressing rooms, so they will be picking up penalties. But what additional penalties are arrived at, we'll just wait to find out. A lot of penalties through the course of the evening, and consequently it has been a rather long hockey game. We near the 3-hour mark. Maloney picked up a penalty simply because he wasn't even involved in it. He was just trying to get to Harper. Maloney came out on the short end of just about everything tonight so far as the Harper situation was concerned, because the first time he picked up a nick, or well, actually a very bloody nose. Harper got 5 minutes in penalty. The second time he went after Harper right at the blue line, and Harper didn't even see it coming, and Maloney picked up double minor, and Harper got nothing.
And wind up with a bleeding nose again, where he had to go to the bench and get a towel.
So the referee, Dave Newell, who's had his hands full all evening long, is over there now explaining the situation to those in the penalty box area.
Well, with the exception of the score, this reminds me of back years ago, the Toronto Red Wing games. It was knock them down, pick them up, and everybody go as hard as they can. And the games usually were the biggest drawing games of the season. Here it is tonight, the fact that they have broken this game wide open. Sittler and McDonald scoring the...
But go back down the line, Sid, and argue with me a little bit, if you will. Nedomansky with the score 3-2, Toronto leading. At about the 4.5-minute mark of this third period, had a great opportunity. He fired the shot. He had Paul Matier beaten cleanly. He hit the goal post to Paul Matier's right. The puck came all across the goal line, hit the goal post to Paul Matier's left, and stayed out. It was picked up by the Leafs, who came right down the ice, and Monahan fired what looked to be a rather innocent shot. And suddenly, he had beaten Vachon, and it was a 4-2 hockey game, and the Wings just seemed to let up from that point on. Sittler scored just a minute later, and then it was McDonald who sort of put the icing on the cake.
Well, you know, Bruce, the Wings let up a little bit in the second period, but I thought they started the third period stronger than they had played in the second period. They were carrying the play to Toronto, and they had 2 or 3 chances to score goals that could have made this game even. But this happens so often in hockey, where you get an excellent chance to score a goal, you don't score it, and the very next rush down into your zone, the team will score. You can't take anything away from Monahan. He shot the puck. He used Pat Boutet as a little bit of a screen that was carrying the play ahead of him. He dropped it, went straight in. I don't think Vachon saw it. The puck was just up under the bar. It was a good goal. But the next goal, too, the play was in the Toronto's zone. The wing player, LeBratton, was knocked down in the corner. The puck was picked up, went straight down along the boards to Lanny McDonald, and he's one of the most dangerous shooters in the league. He just cut in from the right side, and he picked the spot. You couldn't blame Vachon on that goal. He came out and tried to cover the angle. He wasn't able to, and the puck was in, and first thing you know, it got to be a rout. Sittler's last goal, and the crowd is a little bit on Vachon. I think Vachon had the puck. He lost it, and not knowing exactly where it was with him rolling around, I think he put it in more than Sittler did.
Well, as close as I could figure it out, Harper and Maloney have fighting penalties. Boutet has a high-sticking penalty, and that means the Red Wings will have the extra man. Now here's J.P. LeBlanc handing it off to San Laurent. He sent it into the corner. Dennis Polonich in after it. Went in behind the net. Was knocked away. LeBlanc dug it out of the corner. Hutchinson took him to the board. San Laurent took a swing at it. Played it into the corner again. Handed it out in front, but it's intercepted by Jones. It's stopped at the line by Perry Miller. Here's a chance for Willie Huber with a shot. And coming way out of the net, Paul Matier cut the angle and stopped Huber. Now Polonich took it back into the corner. Polonich put it out in front, and Miller hit that crossbar. The light did not come on. Miller had the stick up high. The light didn't come on. There's a shot by Butler. Vachon has grabbed that. And Vachon played the puck in behind his own goal. The Wings thought sure they had one. Miller had the stick up high. The light did not come on. And it must have gone off the crossbar. Now Perry Miller starting out again. Miller carried into the Toronto zone. Here's Miller with it, heading for the corner. Checked there by Turnbull. In behind the goal is San Laurent. Andre San Laurent waiting for somebody. Turned it back toward the blue line. He stick-handled all the way back there. Then put it right on the stick of Ian Turnbull. And Turnbull will bring it out. He shoots it back into the Detroit zone. 40 seconds left in Boutet's penalty. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the hockey game. Perry Miller, now to Bolduc. Danny Bolduc's pass too far out in front of Woods. It's golfed back into the Detroit end. Miller back after it. Now Willie Huber. Huber's pass tipped into the Toronto end. It was fired right back out center ice. Huber played it back into his own zone, and Tommy Bergman goes back after it. 10 seconds left in the penalty. Now here's Huber ahead to Paul Woods. Over the line with Nick Libet. Libet out in front to Bolduc. It came back to the line, and Tommy Bergman just sent it in toward the corner. Libet had it there. Nick Libet turns at the circle. Penalty over to Boutet. A shot from the line by Huber. Grabbed off by Paul Matier. And the Leafs are at full strength now. Monahan was turned around by Libet. Paul Matier came all the way out of the net to shoot it in behind his own goal. Bolduc went in after it. They scramble along the boards, and the Leafs will come out with it. Boutet. That's Boutet. He was stopped at the line by Tommy Bergman. He hands it off now to Perry Miller to Libet. Now Nick Libet coming out center ice. A right side pass to Bolduc. Bolduc was shoved off the puck by Anderson, and there'll finally be a penalty. He was holding on to him all the way in from the blue line, and finally the penalty called, so the Wings again are going to have the extra man, and now Perry Miller went back to argue with the goal judge, but Chuck Sneddon, the goal judge back there, said has been at this job a long time, and he's pretty good at it.
Yes, I actually think that Palmatier caught the puck with his glove, and it appeared as though his glove was back in the net, but it would be the kind of a call that a goal judge would have an awful time trying to figure out just how far back is his glove when he caught the puck. I don't think it hit the top bar, Bruce. I think he just threw his glove up. It appeared as though his glove went inside the net to make the save. They thought, the Wings thought it was in the net, but the play didn't stop. The referee was down there, and he's got charge of the game, too, so...
Miller giving him an argument, too, the referee. And here goes Dave Newell. He's going to the penalty box, and I think he's going to give Miller a penalty now.
Yes, he's going now, and
I said that because I thought I heard it hit the crossbar, but it evidently did not. Miller's going to pick up a penalty now.
Well, the Wings have lost their cool now. Now he's pushing the linesman. He'll probably wind up getting thrown out for several games if he's not careful.
Been a frustrating sort of an evening.
With just 1 minute and 3 seconds to go in the game, it's too bad it has to come to this. Toronto have won this game fair and square. They have worked, they've jumped on loose pucks, and they've capitalized pretty well on every chance they've had. And Mr. Palmatier, say what you like about him.
Oh, he's all over the ice.
He comes away out of his net. He makes saves like no other goaltender. He plays a different style than any goaltender I've seen. He gets out of his net 15, 20 feet, makes the save, flops down, gets back in the net.
Miller gets 2 for unsportsmanlike and 10-minute misconduct.
Arguing at this stage when the score is 6-2 is not going to do any good. The goal did not count. The light didn't come on. The referee was down there. He didn't call it a goal.
We have 1 minute and 3 seconds to go. Each team now will be playing short a man. 6-2 is the score. Toronto leads by 4. Been a wild one all evening long. It'll be a little easier getting out of the parking lot tonight because a good part of the crowd have departed. Now here goes Tommy Bergman back into his own zone. Played it out on the right side to Willie Huber. Huber's pass picked up by Errol Thompson. Thompson digs it into the Toronto zone. Tried to work around Burrows. Took it into the corner in behind the Toronto goal. Played it back toward the line, but Tommy Bergman couldn't handle it there. And moving out with it now, Gary Monahan. McDonald trailing. Drop pass from McDonald with a shot. And Vachon came out of the net, and he made a big move on Lanny McDonald that time. Actually lost his glove, or rather his stick, as he gloved the puck. McDonald with a great opportunity at his hat trick.
And Monahan played it, I guess you'd have to say it's the way a forward's supposed to. He never stopped skating. He skated right directly into Vachon. He cut right across. He's trying to screen, but he runs right into Vachon, knocked Vachon down, but Vachon held his ground to make the save.
Face off in the circle to the right of the Detroit goal. Now Sittler won the draw. Back to Burrows. Burrows cleared it off to center ice, trying to set up Turnbull. 25 seconds remaining in the hockey game. Burrows shooting it in behind the Detroit goal. Vachon stops it there for Tommy Bergman. Now it comes to Willie Huber. Here's Huber's long pass on the left side. Errol Thompson took it over the line. Oh, that stick right up in his face by Hutchinson. And he'll get a penalty with 11 seconds to go now. And now Hutchinson acts as if he wants to go after Errol Thompson. Well, he had the stick right up around his chin, but he's arguing the penalty.
Well, Errol Thompson couldn't do anything other than what he did do. He was trying to make a play, and he eventually did get a shot on the net. Hutchinson just got carried away and got the stick up under his mask and pulled him back. Errol didn't give up on the play. He kept going, took a shot. Palmatier made the save.
High sticking call to Hutchinson, so as I have my penalties counted now, that's 18 for Toronto. The Red Wings have had 12.
And the Red Wings have only scored one power play goal. Hogevon's was a power play goal, and yet they lead the league in power play goals. So they have had several opportunities tonight and haven't been able to capitalize.
Earlier in the game, they should have been able to put it away for 2 solid minutes. They had a 2-man advantage. Didn't really come close. Leafs win the draw, and the puck is fired down the ice. That'll lead up the rest of the time as the clock is running out. Just a couple of seconds left as Tony Bergman goes in behind his own goal. And the buzzer goes to end this hockey game. So the end of the game with a final score, the Toronto Maple Leafs 6, the Detroit Red Wings 2. We'll be back to Olympia Stadium in just a moment.
I'm accustomed to riding around in Cadillacs. So why am I in this AMC Pacer wagon instead of a Cadillac? Well, this Pacer is not only quite luxurious and handles so easily, but it also has an astounding amount of room.
Saturday will be a day of action on TV 50. The Red Wings meet the Islanders at 1, then Michigan State battles Illinois at 8 Saturday night on TV 50.
And so we're with you once more from here at Olympia Stadium in Detroit. The Red Wings, after having played the Toronto Maple Leafs on even terms, giving up 3 goals in the third period, and the Leafs came back to win it 6-2, the final score, out shooting Detroit 34-31. And Sid, good hockey game till the last 20 minutes.
It was a good hockey game. The Wings started to sag midway through the second period. They had a little spurt early in the third period, but then there were a couple kind of bad break goals. Rogie Vachon was bad on a couple of them. Toronto got the big insurmountable lead, and the Wings just seemed to wilt, and then Toronto played it as they wanted to play it. They took penalties. They gave the Wings chances, but the Wings just couldn't put things together. Toronto deserved to win the hockey game. They played for 60 minutes. They come in and did their job.
And the 3 stars, all 3 Toronto Maple Leafs, each of which got 2 goals. The third star was Lanny McDonald. The second star chosen here tonight was Darryl Sittler. And Gary Monahan, who scored only 3 goals all season long, got 2 of them here tonight and was picked as the game's #1 star. And with that shorthanded goal, he indeed did break it open. So the Wings on their way to Washington. No radio, no television of that game Wednesday night. We'll be back with you on television at 1:15 next Saturday from the Nassau Coliseum, the home of the New York Islanders. And then Sunday on radio right back here at Olympia Stadium with the Colorado Rockies in town. And so the final score here at Olympia Stadium, the Toronto Maple Leafs 6, the Detroit Red Wings 2. And this is Bruce Martin along with Sid Abel saying goodbye from Olympia.
This is the post-game show is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coke adds life to Red Wing hockey. And by Parts Plus, automotive name brands you can trust.
We made mention of our Parts Plus drawing a short time ago, and our winner is Pat Sauve out of Detroit area, and Frank's Auto in Allen Park was where she filled out the coupon, so she has a couple of box seats for the March 20th Detroit and Chicago Blackhawk hockey game. We congratulate her. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this hockey game, Sid. I know that it's up to you to pick out a Red Wing star of the game, but before we get to that, I guess we can make mention of the fact again that out shooting Toronto 13-11, having great power play opportunities in the first period, failing to capitalize on them, perhaps cost the Wings this hockey game.
Well, I would think that was their golden opportunity, Bruce. Toronto scored first. Detroit come right back and tied them. The game was going seesawing back and forth, and then the Leafs run into penalties, and the Wings had golden opportunities, but they couldn't get a shot through the net. They didn't really make good selection of their shots. Didn't score. After Toronto got their men back, then Toronto, I'll say this for the Maple Leafs, they skated all night long. They didn't stop at any time, but it makes it pretty nice playing the third period when you finally get ahead 5-2, then 6-2. The game is going one way, then they can start knocking fellas off the puck, and the Wings, of course, knew that school was out. They were just going through the motions.
A lot of penalties. We counted them as 18 for Toronto, 12 for Detroit, 30 in all. And we'll be back with Sid's selection as a Red Wing star of this game in just a moment.
Saturday night, go downtown.
Sid, this hockey game went about 3 hours tonight, so we're keeping Byron McGregor a little overtime, but the TV 50 news scene will be coming up in just a moment or two, followed by that show called Make Me Laugh. Well, you'd had no laughing matter, I guess, in picking out the Red Wing star of this hockey game. Who did you look to?
You know, we keep saying every time we have to pick a Red Wing star, it's on a game that they've lost. But I thought former Toronto Maple Leaf that came over to Detroit in the trade for Dan Maloney, Errol Thompson. I thought Errol Thompson was the standout as far as the Wings were concerned. He scored the Red Wings' first goal. He went up and down his wing all night long, had several other chances, and he's playing with a mask on, and he got hit and got cut for a few stitches, but he just kept coming back, doing his job, and as far as I was concerned, he was the best hockey player the Red Wings had going for him all night long.
And he scored half their goals tonight.
Right.
So that's it. Errol Thompson, for being the Red Wing star of the game, receives an ice chest full of Coke from the Coca-Cola Bottling Company. So the Red Wings to Washington Wednesday. No radio, no TV of that. Our next telecast coming up at 1:15 next Saturday afternoon. Hope to have you with us. Till then, this is Bruce Martin, along with Sid Abel, saying goodbye from Olympia.
The post-game show was brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coke adds life to Red Wing hockey. And by Parts Plus, automotive name brands you can trust. Detroit Red Wing Hockey was brought to you by your AMC and Jeep dealers, home of the Jeep CJs, Cherokee, Wagoneer, and AMC cars. And by Labatt's. For beer at its finest, call for Labatt's. And by Bank of the Commonwealth, trying hardest to help. And by Little Caesars, a winner any way you slice it.
This is TV 50 News Scene, Detroit's most complete primetime television newscast with a work.
So warmly embraced President Carter.
Mexico's complaint about U.S. policy didn't begin with President Carter, but he did manage to make it louder. However, there is a feeling here in Mexico City tonight that Mr. Carter may have turned things around by his visit and his promises. His visit was a success. Now it's up to his promises. Frank?
Thank you, Sam. Promises. There have been many promises and many optimistic predictions during the 2 years of the Carter administration, some fulfilled, some not. We'll talk about that in a moment.
This is Carter and the World, Foreign Policy, or Foreign Failure. Brought to you by American Express Traveler's Checks. Don't leave home without them.
I look everywhere. I find nothing.
Suppose you lose your wallet on vacation. I've no cash, no credit cards. You have nothing?
What about your raincoat?
Good idea. Mario?
We have no money.
We got problems. What'll you do? What will you do? Rely on American Express Traveler's Checks. If they're lost, you can get a full refund at over 60,000 places. American Express Traveler's Checks. Don't leave home without them.
ABC's World News Tonight. From Washington, D.C., Frank Reynolds covers our nation's capital. From Chicago, Max Robinson on the day's domestic news from the heartland of America. From London, Peter Jennings with reports on the foreign stories that affect us by a man who is always there. And Barbara Walters with the special insights and interviews that only she can do. Fast becoming the most watchable news on television. ABC's World News Tonight.
President Carter, like all his predecessors, all of them, is a politician. Politicians, by their very nature, prefer to stress success. In this, they are not alone. Few of us like to even admit mistakes or make pessimistic predictions. Remember the peace is at hand statement made on behalf of another president just before an election. Unwarranted optimism is not new at the White House, but is it more frequent and perhaps more enthusiastic in the Carter White House? Here is our diplomatic correspondent, Ted Koppel.
The occasion, a farewell luncheon last week for Han Shu, Peking's deputy ambassador to Washington. the exuberant cheerleader is the top China specialist on President Carter's national security staff. It has bemused, sometimes dumbfounded, more than one foreign diplomat, this tendency in the Carter White House toward premature euphoria.
Iran, because of the great leadership of the Shah, is an island of stability in one of the more troubled areas of the world. This is a great tribute to you, Your Majesty, and to your leadership, and to the respect and the admiration and love which your people give to you.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. It's late fall, 1977. The president is doing a little politicking out in the Midwest, and, as is customary, reporters are pestering him on a variety of subjects. Almost casually, Jimmy Carter drops a real news nugget. SALT II, the strategic arms agreement with the Russians, it'll be wrapped up, says the president, in about 10 days.
It's 16 months later now, and that SALT agreement is still just out of reach. Time after time, the president has been his own worst enemy, raising expectations which, when unfulfilled, raise serious questions about Jimmy Carter's competence in foreign policy. Just about a year ago, forces from Somalia invaded Ethiopia on the strategically important Horn of Africa.
I hope that we can induce the Soviets and the Cubans not to send either soldiers or weapons into that area.
Within a matter of weeks, there are 23,000 Cuban troops and almost $1 billion worth of Soviet military equipment in Ethiopia. Mr. Carter's gentle warning echoes without impact. Still, there were times when it seemed as though Jimmy Carter would confound all the critics. True, his predecessors had spent 14 years laying the negotiating groundwork, but it was President Carter who signed the Panama Canal treaties, and the Carter administration which successfully shepherded those treaties through the U.S. Senate, and the Carter administration which took on and pushed through the even tougher proposition that U.S. interests demand the sale of warplanes to Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Those were tough, unpopular issues. It took courage to take them on and political savvy to win them. And then, of course, came Camp David. It was an undiluted triumph, and the president savored it for all it was worth. He would cheerfully reminisce about it publicly and privately for weeks to come. But again, as things developed, the euphoria turned out to be premature.
1978, which was to have been crowned with an Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty, a summit with Soviet President Brezhnev, and the announcement of normalized relations with China, 1978 limped to a close with only Deng Xiaoping as uncertain evidence of the president's success as a foreign policy maker. Overshadowing the end of 1978 was the country in which the president had so cheerfully begun the year, Iran.
We have confidence in the Shah. We support him and his efforts to change Iran in a constructive way. I fully expect the Shah to maintain power in Iran and for the present problems in Iran to be resolved. We have encouraged, to the limited extent of our own ability, a public support for the Bakhtiar government. We have been in touch with those in control of the government of Iran, and we stand ready to work with them. Our goals are now as they have been for the past few months. We hope that the differences that have divided the people of Iran for so many months can now be ended.
There is the pervasive sense that Jimmy Carter, confronted with a bad situation, has an unfortunate knack for making it worse, that his successes, when they do come, are of a mostly tactical nature, and that a Carter strategy for American foreign policy has yet to be developed. Frank?
Thank you, Ted. When Mr. Carter returned from Mexico tonight, instead of heading straight for Camp David, as he had planned, he went first to the White House for a 2-hour meeting with his top advisors on the situation in Iran. It is not a pretty situation. And one of its sadder elements is the wave of anti-Americanism in that country. Why is this so? Peter Jennings has just returned to London from Iran.
The Shah of Iran and Thomas Jefferson would have had their differences. In the Shah's Iran, Jefferson's words would have been considered subversive. All men are created equal, endowed by their creator with unalienable rights. Whenever any government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to abolish it. Well, those Iranians familiar with the Declaration of Independence often ask, how could the United States expect the Iranians to continue in a situation Americans would find unacceptable? In Iran today, the burned-out offices of the Shah's secret police, Savak, are a clear indication of what anti-Shah Iranians had been protesting about. Most Iranians know that the United States taught the Savak men some of their heaviest interrogation methods. In the massive crowds which choked off the Shah's bid to stay in power, we American reporters are always asked at least one question. Why did the United States not identify with the people, or at least with their movement? Why, instead, was President Carter like this?
The first American president with whom the Shah met was Franklin Roosevelt in 1943. And this is a great honor for me to have him come this first year that I'm in office to share with me the historical ties that have bound our nation together.
There is a widespread perception in Iran today that the Shah was intended to guarantee American interests, not necessarily Iranian. There is a firm conviction that American arms in Iranian hands are good for the American economy, that American policy in Iran has been one of exploitation. Certainly, it is now clear those arms were no guarantee of stability. In the last week of the revolution, we watched American phantoms streak over the Capitol, an exhibition of armed forces power. Within a few days, all the weapons had proved impotent. The Ayatollah Khomeini, who inspired all this, may not in the future be all things to all Iranians. But unlike the Shah and unlike America, he is not alienated from the people's view of their own history. American-sponsored westernization was seen by many Iranians as debasing their own Islamic culture, and the revolution was as much cultural as political. Iranians are not the first in the Middle East to complain that America has little interest in anyone else's national identity. American foreign policy, for example, took little account of the mosque, and it was here where the voices of change were to be heard. But Iranians believe that Washington was so preoccupied with Iran as a bulwark against the Soviet Union that the Iranian aspiration was hardly considered. In Tehran on Wednesday, there was a dramatic example of how things have changed. The American embassy was not only attacked, it was captured. In a situation with which it has been so out of touch, the American staff was finally rescued by the very people that Washington had so long opposed. And it is a measure of what Washington has to learn that when the embassy wanted buses to evacuate the Americans, a Khomeini spokesman said, "I don't give a damn for the American government." Frank?
Well, Peter, the government of the United States extended formal recognition to the Khomeini government today. We'll have more in a moment.
Do you know me? I was the first to climb the highest mountain in the world. But down here, people don't always recognize me. So I got an American Express card, because people do recognize this as a sign of success and accomplishment around the world. Sure, it's tougher to get, but that doesn't mean you have to climb Mount Everest to get one.
To apply for a card, look for this display wherever the card is welcomed.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
Saturday, the season premiere of the World Series of Auto Racing featuring the International Race of Champions. Top drivers compete in identically prepared cars. Saturday, the first qualifier with Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, and more. Then the Pro Bowlers Tour. And on ABC's Wide World of Sports, Dwayne Bobbitt, in the crossroads fight of his career, takes on undefeated John Tate in a heavyweight bout. Plus, the World Sprint Speed Skating Championships. Sports excitement begins at 2:30 Eastern, Saturday on ABC.
It is the president, of course, who bears the ultimate responsibility for American foreign policy, but the hammering out of that policy is always a matter of give and take among different presidential advisors. Barry Dunsmore reports, however, that in the Carter administration, that process seems to pose a special problem.
It's a legacy of the Kissinger years that we expect a single dominant voice in foreign affairs. But in the Carter White House, there are three foreign policy voices if not 3 foreign policies. The president came to office with little background in foreign affairs. His principal advisors, therefore, take on added importance. So do their differences. Brzezinski, the Polish-born academic, is a battler. He's the grand designer of Carter's foreign policy. Some of his close associates consider him brilliant. Others say he's glib, self-serving, even incompetent. Brzezinski sees the president several times a day. Critics say his own views are too strong to permit him to serve as an honest broker. Sources have complained that opposing positions on matters like arms control have either not reached the president or have been distorted. Vance travels a great deal and sees the president less frequently, though Mr. Carter is said to like him and to trust his judgment. Associates say Vance is a born compromiser who hates confrontation. His critics consider him dull and unimaginative. He is seen as a problem solver and a good negotiator, though he is still waiting for his first major success. However, it's the Vance-Brzezinski view of the world that matters most, and it's on the subject of the Soviet Union that their ideas most often clash. Brzezinski is an acknowledged Soviet expert who neither likes nor trusts the Russians. Never was this more obvious than on his Meet the Press appearance when he recited a litany of Russian misdeeds.
I am troubled by the fact that the Soviet Union has been engaged in a sustained and massive effort to build up its conventional forces, particularly in Europe, to strengthen the concentration of its forces on the frontiers of China, to maintain a vitriolic worldwide propaganda campaign against the United States.
Vance, on the other hand, was a policymaker during the Vietnam War and feels more acutely the limits of American power. He also sees no point in provoking the Soviets.
I believe that they, as we, are very sensitive to the importance of maintaining the peace and in working towards the maintenance of a stable relationship between our two nations.
Such differing views translate into policy differences like these. Strategic arms limitation talks. Brzezinski wanted to link SALT to Soviet Africa policy. He's consistently taken a tougher line against concessions. Vance argued SALT is not a reward to the Soviets and that it's crucial to U.S. national security. There is still no SALT agreement, and some U.S. negotiators say Brzezinski has been interfering and unhelpful. Africa. Brzezinski wanted to send missiles to the rebels in Angola to counter the Soviets in Ethiopia. Vance argued sound Africa policy can't be based on the U.S.-Soviet competition. Vance prevailed, though Africa policy is so far not a notable success. China. Brzezinski saw normalization a diplomatic counter to the Soviets. Vance approved of normalization, but opposed provoking the Soviets with it. Brzezinski certainly seemed to eclipse Vance on China, both before and during the Deng visit. That was partly because Vance was in the Mideast when the final steps were taken, and because Deng's view of the Soviets and Brzezinski's are quite similar. Vance and Brzezinski appear to get along well enough, but they are not personal friends. And according to one who has worked closely with them both, there's a strain in their relationship because Brzezinski wants Vance's job. Actually, a good argument can be made that the president benefits from receiving two strongly presented, differing